Welcome back to the Denver 2025 Sigun LAN. We have our upper bracket final talent, like a G6 versus Witness Gaming EU, as Witness Gaming EU kind of dominated the Australians pretty convincingly. It was a close first map, but Witness Gaming EU did ended up running away with it for a certain amount of time. But this is a great opportunity for one of these two amazingly talented teams to get their hands on this first place trophy that the Fireside cast and team set up for them so graciously. So it's going to be an amazing match. If you're watching from Twitch chat, we're going to be getting started here shortly. We got players switching over to the main stage. Kobe walking up, Soapy setting up. So we should be starting hopefully within the next 15 minutes. Witness Gaming EU is all set up, ready to go. So hopefully we shouldn't have any delays like last time with the first match with those tech issues. We shouldn't have anything up here now. But before we kick it over to the desk, again, we have Witness Gaming EU going up against like a G6, currently North America's most dominant team, as Froyo Tech currently in the lower bracket with the Australians, where I believe the Australians are going to be playing not only for 4th place, but for 5th place, as Froyo Tech and Australia both in the lower bracket, especially Froyo a little earlier than expected. So a couple landmines in the lower bracket. But other than that, I'm going to kick it over here to the desk shortly. We've been having an amazing LAN so far. This is going to be one of the most probably anticipated matchups, as Froyo is, again, in that loser bracket, where G6 defending the North American nation to prove that we might have the better play style here. But Witness Gaming EU going to put a stop to that very shortly. Tomas is a beast. Same thing with Lucas, but we'll see how Caps and company are going to be able to stop it. So we're going to get over to the desk, see what they think about this match coming up here shortly.
All right. Thank you, Sandblast. Yeah, I think we're all very excited, to say the least. Now, upper bracket finals is usually a preview of sorts of grand finals. It tends to be. First, because one team is guaranteed to go to grand finals. But second, because a team that goes that far in upper bracket and loses still tends to beat the teams that lost earlier stages and make it to grands nonetheless. I am joined by Marmaloo as well, who we were seeing yesterday, but first time on the couch today. So, yeah, first impressions on this kind of matchup. What do you think of what are looking like the top two teams at the moment in this tournament?
I think right now it is these two teams. I think 100% Australia could come back, but like Sandy was saying, Australia and Froyo are playing for 5th place, which is just going to be completely no one expected. But right now, I do think this is the grand finals preview unless something weird happens. But this should be a great matchup between NA's best right now, EU's best, and seeing how their kind of play styles interact. I do think EU and G6's playstyles are a lot closer than Froyo's would be, but I'm curious to see which direction they kind of go in, where G6 maybe does have a little more, they like to spam a lot, they like to sit there and let things happen, while EU likes to just go together, double bomb, do things as a whole team, while G6 is fine with letting you make a mistake and just spamming it out.
The thing is, with that being said, I agree completely, but the game we saw yesterday between these two teams was very odd to my understanding, right? Because obviously Witness EU, they went up 2-0, and then it was, I don't know, it was sort of the back caps from G6, the constant pressure on the flank, and then a couple of really explosive mid-fight wins, and suddenly the game is over at 5-2. It felt like it was just getting going, and then suddenly game over onto the next. And that's the only map that the Europeans have dropped so far. Like G6, for that second half of that game, they completely had the Europeans' number. Yeah,
once they actually sort of got adjusted and got some momentum, it just did not cease for the entire map. And it did, at the end, feel very G6 dominated. Now, that being said, there is something to be said about group stages. Teams are obviously going to be taking it very seriously, but you can afford to miss a map. You can afford something like that as long as you actually lock in during playoffs. And especially considering this is now on the progressive rule set rather than a standard 30-minute timer, means that being down early on is no longer going to apply the same pressure. And I think that if the Europeans can be comfortable with that, then they can absolutely stop momentum and maybe reverse it this time around.
Yeah, with this rule set, I know G6 historically has been like a more second half, later in the game team, where this rule set 100% favors them.
Yeah.
Some of the results from the group stage, not what the game really was. Like the ones that were like a 3-0 turned into a 5-0, because the team has to make something happen. Where we're going to see a lot of, can you make those last pushes work? EU had a really good time with those. Can you make the mid-fight wins? Can you getting those stalemates. If you can't break a last hold, you are going back to mid. And if you can have good mids, then that will put you in a good spot. But it's never over until you actually close the deal, which NA just has an advantage because we've been using it. So if Europe has like talked about it, realized, okay, we need to do this, this is the expectations, they should be fine. But it is a different kind of feel throughout the game that they need to kind of get used to.
Yeah, I was thinking like you mentioned the last pushes and stuff, and how like in the previous game that was something I was really impressed with the Europeans. It's something that like obviously whatever rule set you're going to have to eventually learn how to break down these stalemates, and particularly for teams coming out of Europe, we end up in the stalemates quite a lot. So we get a lot of practice with them. And yeah, Witness EU they've looked very good in that last game, but I want to see on the other side of things. I know we didn't catch a ton of it over here on the Fireside stream, but over on Essentials, it was balls against G6, and that went worryingly close if you're a G6 fan, shall I say. They got through it, they snuck through, but maybe they were looking for something a bit more convincing, because that could have gone either way. And on the balance of momentum, maybe it's not with G6 at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up because that definitely calls into question G6's dominance. Because yes, you beat Witness EU, which looks like one of, if not the strongest team here, but you're having close matches with the Balls team, which no one expected to play as well as they're playing. So obviously props to them. They are playing very well. And honestly, it's pretty difficult to try and discern what's actually happening with these matchups, because all these games are so unbelievably close in the sense that, you know, these matchups shouldn't be as close as they are, yet consistently there is a level of competition that just isn't expected. So it's very difficult to decide, okay, well, is G6 having a tough time against Balls team indicative of G6 being maybe a little weaker, or is Balls team just playing very well? It's pretty tough to kind of figure out because, yeah, I mean, they did beat EU, but I don't know, against some of the other teams, it's not the same matchup.
Yeah, Ball's just a question mark. Statement I don't think anyone thought they'd hear today, but at this point we can't be doubting them anymore. They had a really close game against G6. G6 at the end kind of brought it together, but with those maps being kind of picked, I'm curious to see, and I think that is going to play the biggest role. In the best of one, you kind of get to a neutral map, but when you get to your own pick, you need to win your own pick, and so far this land, people have not been winning their own picks.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's a weird one, right? Because we were speaking a little bit about this last time on the desk, just before our break, and we're saying against G6, right? They are like incredibly good on Koth, and they're so consistent on it. So teams have got to kind of pick their poison against them. Do you ban product? Do you ban bagel? We saw previously, and like I know scrims don't mean anything, but the scrims on between Witness and G6 do have the upper hand on Koth. So it'll be interesting to see which one the Europeans feel like they're more comfortable playing, assuming that G6 want to pick into one of them. I'm presuming they would, but it's never a certainty. But yeah, these pick bans, like, I don't know, sometimes it wins and loses the game, but as you're saying, sometimes, I don't know, they just go out the window. Like, how many times this land has someone won their own pick? So it's like less than 50%.
Mm-hmm.
I think with all the unknowns, like, you just don't know. Like, you may like this map. Like, for example, like, Froyo lost on Snake, or like Witness won, and then Australia picked Snakewater in them and then get smashed.
Yep.
It's like they just don't have the experience with that. And I 100%, if you're playing G6, Bagel should not go through. I'd be a lot more fine with Viaduct. They've gotten better at Viaduct throughout the years. The old Froyo teams used to be really, really, really good at Viaducts, where now they've kind of gotten used to it. And I don't think we'll see them pick it, but I think they're fine with leaving it on the board, being like, you pick it, we're fine with it. They've won both their matches they played on against Ball's land team. And I'm curious to see what 5 CPs we'll see. Will we see something like a Snakewater, like a Process? I know G6 and I think also EU, they both like Process. And that is kind of one of those standard maps where we can see, do they want to mix it up? Do we want to see a Metalworks? Do we want to see a goalie? Being like the team that's less favored and left confident, maybe you go for a riskier map, or you just go for those cookie cutter, we're better than you, let's just play a straightforward game.
Yeah, and honestly, while I agree with certain picks, like, you know, avoid G6 on Bagel, from my own experiences having played the game, there's kind of a meta game decision to be made there of, okay, are we picking the map that we feel the most comfortable on, or the map that we feel we are proportionately stronger than the other team at, which are two different things. And a lot of the time, at least my own experience, I think going with the comfort pick tends to be the way to go because it's very easy to be like, okay, these guys are really bad at this map. They like don't scrim it or whatever. We're not super great at it, but we're probably better than they are. And then you play it and it goes bad and you're like, why did we play that map? We don't even like it. So we'll have to see that. I did want to touch on something you mentioned though, like stepping back. It is actually insane to me that the level of competition at this tournament is so high that a team with Jay, Slemnish Scouts, Artist on Demo, High Five Dingo Soldiers, and Zillion Medic isn't even in the conversation as like a grand final potential.
So they have fourth. They made fourth place guaranteed. If they were to lose every game, if they left the venue, they would have a minimum fourth place. We have been put in a situation where Australia and Froyo, I think sometimes people would have thought they'd be in the grand finals, one of the two. One of them's going out of fifth, which I don't think we've really ever seen a team like burn out that early, especially at a TF2 event.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen.
It's weird though, right? Because you say we don't see teams burn out at a TF2 event. We also don't normally have the best European team, the best Australian team, and God knows how many of the best American teams.
3 NA teams that are actually like they can be comparable. Usually when you go to like an I series,
like,
there's one European, like there's one team from that nation that's
exactly,
at
right. It's a long time ago since there's been like many
like I-55 or
I-58 and I-55, right? Yeah, it's a long time ago. But like this LAN, like you don't get these every day. You don't get these ones where there's so much parity at the top, everyone at the top of their game, like. This for every player at this LAN, this is probably the biggest LAN you can get, right? Apart from there's a couple of names there like Banny and such, but for the majority of people here, like this is the biggest stage, and like this is as stacked as it gets.
Yeah, for me personally, it's something that I have been thinking about a little bit recently. It's actually something you mentioned on day one, Marmaloo, of talking about this being like one of the biggest like LANs that's going to happen, and I'm like, oh, I never really thought about that because when I was coming up in this game, I was paying a lot of attention and tuning into those really big events. I know like Rewind and Rewind 2 really stuck out to me as like really exciting events, and I loved watching them. So in my brain, that was always like, yeah, that's TF2. But looking objectively, I think that the level of competition here, especially how close it is at the high levels, it blows any other LAN out of the water.
It's that combined with the fact that, okay, like previous LANs, we have had the top teams from 3 continents there. It's the fact we have that, and it's been so long since we last had it. These regions have sort of grown independently, at least NA in Europe for the last like 3 years, and then the Australians with everyone for about 7 years at this point. It's been a long, long time since they've been competing at the top. So it's one of these things where the fact that it's been so long makes this matter even more.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of these squads, it's like the last hurrah. I know, like, some of these teams I've mentioned, it's like, this is our, like, last big event. Australia's been waiting forever, and it's like, they got their team that's been dominant, and they're sending them off, and they want the best results possible. I think it's going to be crazy. I think, like, the best LAN before this of just competition would be, like, something like I-55, where there were, like, 5 really, really good teams, I-58, things like that. But Australia, Europe, and America all being around the same level at the same time you don't see that.
Yeah, it is something special for sure, especially the fact that it was able to get organized to begin with, because obviously it's exceptionally difficult to be able to cross oceans to compete in a TF2 tournament. So it's definitely cool to see that happening. Something else as well that I'm really looking forward to, because now, obviously there was exciting TF2 happening earlier. Even early in the morning on day one, I hear in my ear, wait, what do you mean Froyotech just lost to Witness Gaming AU? How is that happening? Because at the time, Froyo hadn't lost, right? Froyo isn't a team that loses. So losing to Witness...
They're the champions of the last season.
Yeah.
Like,
so how's that happening? And then suddenly another upset happens, and there's close games. It looked like the Euros were just going to completely dominate based on the pre-tournament scrims, but it's competitive matches. So now things are really ramping up. At this point as well, now that the open bracket is starting to knock some teams out, we're going to have a crowd. There's going to be a lot more energy, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to some of these games.
The one thing with this is we're talking about the energy, like, and we're saying about like a lot of these teams, it's the last hurrah. Like, this just amps up the pressure. For many teams, it's last chance saloon. For some teams, it's the one chance they'll ever get. For teams like Witness EU, and this is a project 3 years in the making for them. They have been grinding for 3 straight years just for the opportunity to play against the Americans again after that loss at I-69. They've wanted the revenge, and it's taken this long. And I don't know, if you've put 3 years worth of combined work into something like this, the pressure on them must be immense. So that just, if you're on the stage, I honestly don't know how these guys do it. Like, I genuinely, I am so impressed because we see some of them earlier on. Like, I don't know, they all look so chill. They're in the zone, they're locked in, but to stay like that through the whole tournament, when the crowd gets going, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you that specifically, Marmaloo, because I've competed at LANs, but in open brackets, and you know, you want to win and keep it competitive and all that, but I've never competed on the stage, much less the stage in a grand final of a LAN tournament. So how does that experience differ, not just from a experience at home where you have to deal with ping, but you're comfortable on the computer you play every night versus being in the LAN venue versus being in the LAN venue and on the stage in the highest stakes match of the entire tournament?
Yeah, it really comes down to comfort. If you cannot go back to your fundamentals and things are going crazy, like something like with Froyo right now, everything is burning. They're going to try and put out fires, but when they do that, a new fire sparks up. And there are players who just can't handle the pressure. Like in the past, in that one summer where all the NA LANs happened, Witness Gaming was a previous champion. They were the second place team, and they never broke there. They always fell short. And on that team was Brand Slam and Laz, and infamously Brand Slam and Laz, or at least Brand Slam specifically, was known as like a LAN choker. He couldn't bring it to the finish line. And I think the main thing with that is just having the experience, being there in that situation where you know, okay, reset. You don't have the time to yell at each other. You don't have time to do these little petty things. It's like you need to know what you're doing. You need to be confident in your game. If you're not, you're going to play differently, and it's all going to fall apart, especially when you are in loser's bracket. This is your life. Australians been waiting for 7 years to get this all together, and you don't want to fall short because this opportunity is probably not going to happen again.
Yeah, and I think experience is definitely a good point there because I remember from the first matches I played of sixes, right? You pug and do all this. Oh, but now you're on a team. This is the match. Like, this is the first match you've played. You're a little shaky on the rollout, a little nervous. And I had that same feeling for my first LAN match where, oh man, it's really happening. It's a little nerve-wracking. And that's something that I'm sure happens as well in a much higher stakes setting at LAN as well. So having that LAN experience and having the experience of the pressure will, make that a lot easier, which fortunately all these teams from these different regions have plenty of LAN experience at those high levels, not with the same stacked competition at this tournament because the stacked competition at this kind of tournament doesn't happen all that often, but they hopefully have enough experience under the pressure that doesn't factor too much into the outcome.
There's a different also sort of pressure at work, I think, because at least in the two Witness rosters, the Witness Europeans, the Witness Australians, for the past, I'm not going to put a number on it, but for the past while, if they've gone to LANs or if they've gone into cups or whatever, they're coming in as the favourite. They're comfortable. They know that if they just play their game, they can win, and there's a relative comfort to that. Of course, it comes with sometimes its own pressures, and there's sort of you don't want to show yourselves up, right? But at an event like this, it's completely different. They have to adapt every game. They have to be constantly anti-stratting, constantly like on the lookout, and it must feel completely different for them from what they're used to from the past few years because both these teams have been so dominant in their regions.
They're the favorites, and it's like to be in a different region. Imagine you play a whole season. You know your opponents. You don't know Australia. Like NA has no clue. Europe doesn't know America that well. Where it's those group stage games. Those are like the raw, no big counter-stratting, no watching the demos. For today, and especially tomorrow, we're going to see a lot of these guys watching those games back, seeing the little things, planning on maps where I think day one was just like the raw team versus team. Now we get more into the studying and things where teams like Froyotech, and I'm sure Europeans and all those have a lot of history of looking back and being like, okay, this little thing, abuse that, and just watch for those little things. And who can adapt the most will be at the top at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. Actually, sort of testing the waters day one because yes, you can study up in advance, see how teams play, what their habits might be, but those are their habits and what they're doing against whatever team they're playing. You really only know how you play against them after having played against them and seeing how they react to maybe your habits or what you like to do and things like that.
Yeah, you also get the sort of the dynamic where when we've got a LAN like this, of course, there's 3 regions here, but the one region is represented a lot more than the rest of them. So you have, if you're an American team or an RGL team at this LAN, you have most of your games, you're prepping against other American teams that you play against. You roughly know how they go, and there's of course teams in if you have anything and you sort of like you cut it up and say everyone in each blob learns something away. There'll be some sort of some meta development over in each part. But like as an American, you'd be playing against your own Americans and the Europeans and the Australians. Whereas if you're a European or an Australian at this land, you're only prepping for the Americans and the other ones. So it means almost if you're from the majority region, you've got the shock matches against the people who are playing differently and coming over, but you've also got the rest of them as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like a micro example is like Australia. On some of those last pushes, I don't know if it was weird how they played it. They didn't play the point on like something like Snake
not at all.
And it's like, I'm sure it's because in Australia, they don't kite into spawn. They kite out maybe to the left. So they're used to getting the kills over there. Wow, you play entirely different. It's like counter-stratting. Mm-hmm. Same with like goalie. They are a team that love to play water with Lucas and a soldier potentially, where it's like, you need to be ready for that. If you play your normal one, it's not going to work. Where how teams play, your set, things you've been doing for like a decade, doesn't work because teams don't react how you're used to.
Mm-hmm. I think changing gears here, I want your two opinions on if you had to pick a match that has happened so far that has been a personal favorite, what would it be? Because I know I already mentioned this earlier today, but after and it was actually all three of us were here on the couch, after Balls barely missed out on beating Froyotech on product, and that was Balls' map pick.
Oh, yeah.
All of us, when the cameras went off, we just sunk and we're like, all right, time to get it over with. Because we had seen this, especially us in North America, I've seen this a million times. You play a close game against Froyo and lose, that was your shot, right? And it's just going to be gone after that. But then, sometime later, I look and I'm like, wait, how is Balls leading Froyotech on Froyotech's map pick all of a sudden? And yeah, so for me, it would definitely be last night's Froyotech versus Balls matchup was very, very exciting because I've been surprised with a lot of these matchups, but that one really, I was so sure that it was over.
Yeah, we've not had too many long series so far. We obviously had on stream we had the Witness matchup, and there was some good TF2 being played, but it wasn't particularly close. Let's be real. It was 5-2 and 4-0. I think the two maps. It was not particularly competitive. Witness EU sort of ran away with it early and then eventually got themselves over the line. But yeah, no, I think it's an obvious pick so far. But the nice thing is, though, there's 3 more best of 3s on stream and 1 more best of 5. So I would love for that to not be the best game of LAN, because I'd love for to have loads of better games later on.
It's underdogs, players you don't see, and overtime, last second for all those. That is a hard series to beat. Hopefully we can see that, like you said, the BO5s. But this could be a contender for that, and I'm really excited to see what maps they have. But I'm curious, who do you think is going to win here?
Between Froyo and the Australians, I think, man. So I was talking to some people who were playing against Froyo earlier in the bracket, and while yes, Froyo did beat them, which they would 100 games out of 100, apparently they still feel a little weak. Now, for me, the big question was always, how much of an adjustment does Froyo make? Because they are a team that are known for really strong adjustments, such as that season where they get knocked into lower brackets earlier in RGL, only to come back and sweep grand finals. There are so many stories of day one of LAN going poorly, but back in the hotel room, Banny diagnoses some things, figures stuff out, and they come back so much stronger. So hearing the rumor that maybe they're not coming flying out of the gate makes me very, very scared for Froyo's prospects.
I've said this in the last test segment we had, where I said I don't feel like in a lower bracket scenario like this, I can with good conscience predict against Froyo Tech.
It's so hard.
And because there's a mental block, right? I know off the data, if you plug the data through, you look at how the teams have played so far, the form they're on, like the pressure on like the Australians in particular coming into this. All that adds up to I think the Australians should do well and they should have a chance to win. But there's something in me that I just cannot say that. I just think Froyo, they always work something out. They even no matter how bad it looks, I just think they will.
Yeah, as being on the Froyo side when we came back from losers advantage or disadvantage and all that.
Oh yeah, you were.
there's not magic right now. There's a lack of confidence. There's a lack of people are just not doing the things they need to be doing. And there's going to be a lot of drastic changes. And the thing with changes is if you change too drastically last minute, you're not the same team. And I think right now they got punched in the face game one, and they've been trying to make those changes. And it's just been too much. You got to play your own game. And right now, I think confidence is key, and especially in this match with players that maybe aren't as confident on land. They haven't really had as much success or experience. Not being confident in what you're doing and thinking like, oh, we've lost this team before, we can lose, is a big factor. When you get down
100%.
to that 4-4 last round, one mistake loses the game, you're going to either try and be the hero and do too much or be scared and do too little.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm going to say for that game, I'm going to go Australia. I think they have the confidence over Froyo. I remember I heard in the back someone's like, we're going to destroy Froyo from Australia. And I'm like, that you love to hear that. And that would be crazy.
The best bit is on that point is we saw this in the game that Witness AU played against the Europeans just before on stream. Like they were getting beaten, but like individually they were playing really well. I think the Australians, yes, they were getting like sort of out macroed, but only like on a one-to-one basis, on player by player, they were doing really good jobs, and they're clearly feeling it, right? They're here to play, they're here to show what they're made of, and yeah, I think. Like on that level, I can understand why they're confident and why they're feeling, because they're watching their own game and they're like, yo, we are like, okay, we lost to the Europeans, but like they're really at their A game.
Yeah.
They beat him in the first map, and it's like the only player that I'd say isn't showing off very well is Lau. Lau's had a rough couple games, and right now I think it's going to be a lot on if they can get comfortable, get there. But right now, like you said, they just couldn't string all the scenarios together. EU won one fight, stringed it in 3 points in a round. And it's like AU, win a fight, med drop, completely all gone. And it's going to be a lot on that. But for G6 EU, what are we thinking?
Oh, that's what we're covering.
That is
Totally
what we're
forgot.
covering. That is probably a more fun match as well.
Oh, we've been told we got some map pick bans.
So we can give a better prediction.
Yeah,
Let's look at those.
Well, you say that. I don't know. The maps so far haven't made any sense at all. It's been randomized who picks what.
Yeah,
right? Like,
teams pick what map they want to lose on.
Oh, G6 do pick Koth. They do pick.
Interesting product.
Goalie from Witness.
Oh, that product pick. I know I said before I thought it would happen. Witness EU, their bagel is a lot weaker.
Yeah.
Their product, at least domestically, they destroy teams on
In the scrims I was looking at, they looked like the best team on Viaduct. That's why I wasn't as...
Well, the Europeans?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Honestly, in Europe, they roll everyone.
Well, G6, like I said, the problem they had a lot is Soapy and Kobe, neither of them they were never super good at connector. So like when I was playing, I played Concrete, and Soapy, I think, kind of started putting things together, and they've gotten a bit better, but that's a risky pick. Like if you went to something like, I don't know, Process, it's everyone knows how to play Process. But they must be feeling it because they've had a couple good wins, and Gully Wush, I think, just makes sense.
Yeah.
They looked good on it. They just won, and it is a map that is going to allow for them to have those big macro plays, group up, big fights, rather than a lot of flank plays, which bot mode is a psychopath, frankly. He is, and you kind of minimize him a little bit.
Yeah, I think this map pick from G6 might be somewhat informed by their map against Balls, in which they lost map 1, but on Balls' map pick of product, they won pretty confidently. 3-round lead, let one slip, but then closed it out right after. And that's against Jay on Scout, which, Jay is not the all-in-one package best scout in the world. But if you had to pick a scout to be on your team on product and just run around and kill things, it would be Jay. So being able to beat that.
The 2 European ones are pretty damn good as well. I'll have that. I'll have to interject there.
If you could just put Jay on any pug team, if I wanted one player just to kill everybody, I'd pick Jay. On like a full team where everything's like all figured out, maybe someone else. But Jay, if you just throw him in a scrappy fight, he's hitting the shots. But yeah, no slouches anywhere in this server. These are, like we said, the 2 best teams.
Oh, for sure.
Nobody here is just like a bum. They are all fantastic.
But that being said as well, I think a player to really look out for here is going to be Lucas Tank, because he's seemed to be a pretty standout demo among the competition, which is wild because there's some really, really strong competition.
What we've got to remember with Lucas, right? 2 years ago, approximately 2 years ago, Europe decided that they didn't like the lock and load. and that it was raising the skill floor for demo too much, and we banned it, right? And now Lucas has played with stock, played with Iron Bomb or whatever, depending on the map, right? And then come back now, and he gets to use the training wheels again. He gets to play easy mode once more. And I don't know, when you've been playing hard mode for so long, you go back to easy mode, and I don't know, everything's just free. He just hits everything with this lock and load. Like, we need to take that weapon off him. It's so broken.
Yeah, I mean, he's been putting in good work with it. And honestly, recently, so not all the top NA demos prefer lock. And I think Habib and Logan in particular tend to be seen with Iron Bomber more so than otherwise. But Artist in particular has really come out as a strong lock and load user. So at the very least, G6 will be familiar with playing against a demo that's quite strong on the lock. But yeah, I don't know. Lucas has absolutely.
It just suits his style perfectly. Like, he is, at least in comparison, like the rest of the European demos, he is very aggressive, in your face, taking loads of like really aggressive bombs and Ubers, and really, like, I don't know, some say over aggressive. He does get caught sometimes, but he is very happy to be around 3 people and just go for the clip, and he hits them quite a lot, you know?
If you took the name Lucas out of that, I would have thought you were also talking about Habib. They
That's the thing.
are
Yeah, exactly,
so
right?
similar.
They are, right? And
On that note, Logan has been kind of, I wouldn't say like a counter for Habib, but he's the opposite. Logan, his strong suit is he's always there, he's always at the choke, and he's always just doing the right thing. He's never doing crazy things where, like, sometimes Lucas or Habib, they make feed, but sometimes they just 3K, win the fight. And it's just like, why did this happen? Oh, he just took a risk. Logan is kind of the opposite. Their goal is probably gonna be keep Lucas in check, then we can win. That's been the whole thing with Froyo. If you can keep Habib down, you have a chance. But if Lucas is just blowing everybody up, you have literally no chance in this game. You just don't.
On the topic of bot mode and bot mode being crazy, for some reason, when I think of G6 product, I think of, and this could just be because there's one Twitch clip I like that is stuck in my brain, but I think of bot mode Spy pistoling down a medic. And
He did that like 2 or 3 times on that land. That was,
yeah, and
that
we
was
have
something.
seen Spy plays come out on product, specifically from Froyotech against Balls.
Bonnie, yeah.
And
He's
it
like
has
the only one who ran Spy this land, basically, it feels like.
and it has worked. So we'll have to see if, off classes come out from that front. And as well, I mean, it is worth mentioning, product, of course, is the only map where a full-time sniper is truly viable without them cheating, right?
Yeah. Hey, some of them look like they are.
Yeah, true. But we haven't seen a ton of sniper here. So why do you two think that maybe sniper is less seen of a pick here and maybe hasn't proven to be so dominant? Well, actually, I might be speaking too soon because from what I heard, bot mode was kind of disassembling.
The thing
Balls
is,
game.
with Sniper, and I think the lower, and I'm not trying to be like shaming lower level player, but the lower the level, the better the sniper is. Because to be a sniper, you need a team to be doing everything right. The soldiers need to be playing right. The medic can't be in the sideline. So the worse the players are in general, the sniper is more powerful. As we get to the upper level, and as like the teams like Froyotech, who were really, really dominant on Koth for like a decade before everyone kind of caught up, they almost never ran the sniper. Because at perfect level, the sniper only gets value if they hit every shot. Where bot mode, and I can't speak for Europe exactly, but bot mode himself, he does something really good where he just switches on it and off it constantly. Because you get used to it, and then randomly a shot.
Yep.
Staying on it, like in the Balls game when Jay was playing sniper, they roll out sniper every mid. By the second mid, it was not good. They just instantly committed. Where if you keep them on your toes, the counter to sniper is bombing. Oh, if you have 2 scouts and no sniper, you die. Where unless the sniper's on fire, it can be a little.
That's the thing with sniper plays, right? Is all of the counterplay to sniper. There's on the chain of, like, on the flow chart.
Yeah,
there's a
the
point where
asterisk.
there's a point somewhere on the flow chart where the sniper misses.
No, they have a
yeah.
sniper. It's they hit, they miss, and then you
Yeah.
can move on. If they hit, you lose. If they miss, you can do it.
Yeah, you can go to the next step.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? And that's the thing. But yeah, it's also the thing of, like you're saying, the fact that you've got to hit your shots. It ups the ante to some degree. Of obviously you're sacrificing one of your combat classes if there's a massive team fight on the point, some scrappy thing. Yeah, you're a player down basically, but like your reward is you just win, right? If your sniper's hitting everything, it's pretty hard for things to start going wrong on a map like Product with the amazing sightlines you have everywhere. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if G6 pull it out. Witness, they've toyed with it online. They had it at Poland. They've flipped on and off it a couple of times through the tournament, but it's not like a staple. It's not like I'm gonna come in and say, like, there's some teams, like in like various teams through the years where, like, they're gonna 100% have a sniper going there all the time. Like there's not even like a consistent player on Witness that's going sniper. Sometimes it's Hugo, sometimes it's Ixie. And they just, whenever they feel it's right, whenever they feel the moment is there, they'll go for it, but they're not gonna try and force it to happen.
Yeah.
I'm like thinking of like back in the day Nerd Rage. Like that was like the team who just ran sniper all the time.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a lot more powerful when you are constantly just putting
Yes.
them in a bad position. But like you're saying, the whole goal of sniper is if they cross that point, you probably lose. You're trying to stop them from even getting there. And I'm really curious to see how they handle forward holds, how they handle even Uber. Are they going to push the flank more often? Are they going to play a lot more passive, grouped up? And this is probably going to be the best showing of Viaduct we're going to have from both teams
Yeah.
in a single match.
Yeah, I agree. Sniper's very much a positioning dependent class because, yes, you can just run it all the time because there's still sight lines and whatnot, but it's a class that's going to be much stronger preventing the other team from capping the point than it will be actually getting aggressive and capping the point, because a lot of the time on product you are looking for a kill or you're looking for damage or space or some means to get bodies on the point without having them die, and sniper just way back where ringing off shots makes a lot of those plans a lot harder to execute.
And at the end of the day, it's Koth. The entire point is time. If you take too much time and the sniper needs to get a shot. On defense, you have a sniper, you're burning time. They have to get ready if they set it. But if they have the point and you have a sniper, they can just sit there. When you get too close, they Uber into you. And it's just every time. So offensive sniper, 100%, not as good. But what are we thinking on this map? Let's go down for some predictions on this one.
I always guess 4-2 for Koths because it felt like for a while 4-2 was just the score that happened. I think this is going to be a 4-3 banger of a game. I'll call it for G6 just because they came off hot, a nice product game against Balls, which apparently bot mode as well, was doing quite well on Sniper, which is a high impact class as we mentioned. So knowing that bot mode is hot and able to hit those shots is definitely an edge. So yeah, I'm going to say G6 going to take it 4-3.
I am going to let some bias creep in. I know I kind of have to. I think it's with good reason.
Yeah.
I think it's with good reason. I think Witness EU take it. I think I'm not too keen on picking a score because with these there's rounds can flip. I think they'll take it. I think the fact that obviously coming against G6, we mentioned before, they're allowing product to come through. They're allowing it through for a reason. And in the past, at least domestically, they are incredible on product. I don't think I've seen them play on LAN so far, like at this LAN, but they are just incredibly consistent. Like they have all the pieces. They have the two best scouts in Europe, to mop up literally everything. They've got Lucas, who now has the Iron Bomber, not the Iron Bomber, the lock and load. He's not on the Iron Bomber anymore, and demos can reign supreme on a map on any cost map. But product, I think the raw level of some of these Witness plays is I think it's gonna be too much to handle.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is going to be on the Soapy and bot mode if they can make things happen on the flank. Because Kobe just isn't, it's just not a map that suits him. Kobe is a very static player, not wanting to do things. But right now, I'm going to let my bias run through. I'm going to say G6, and I'm going to say if they are going to win, it is their map pick. And if we look at the pick bans, it's been let through. They're fine with it.
Yeah, well.
And you have to ban Bagel. You have to ban
That's
Bagel.
the thing.
Yeah.
And that's
I think it's
that's
less so they're
powerful.
letting it through so much as they have
Yeah.
to.
They can't let Bagel through.
Would you rather play G6 on product or Bagel? And I think that the smart decision is take product.
Product, especially if they've had success. I'm gonna go with the generic scoreline. We'll say 4-2 for G6. If they're gonna win, I think it's gonna be they got some game plan.
See, I always guess 4-2, but recently haven't been
It's
many
like 4-1 a
4-2s.
lot of times.
Yeah, like 4-1s in close games as well. Let's talk about the second map because I am quite curious why this is Witness Gaming EU's map pick, considering that in their matchup against the Aussies, Gully was a lot closer than Snakewater was.
Well, Snakewater was the ban, so it was out of the series. G6 banned Snakewater, so they couldn't pick that.
I see. But still, having a shaky matchup against a team that, on paper at least, and I keep saying on paper every single day because these again, there's so much chaos in the matchups that you just have to stick to something like, no, this team's better than this. But G6 theoretically a lot stronger than the Aussies, so having a shaky Gully against them, yeah, I mean, I guess just what are the other options at that point?
It was shaky at parts, but at the end of the day, it finished 5-2, right? Like they did close it. There was a couple of weird wobbly moments, but a lot of that I think was just the Aussies were like individually they were feeling it, and there was a lot of big plays they were coming through with. And against like Witness, they fell back. They had to hold their own last a few times, but I just think they're confident enough on it. And like you say, it's a map where the macro gameplay is so important. I think that's really their strong suit. It's what they've looked so good at, obviously, for all the years they've been going. But especially this LAN, I think it's where they've really had the advantage over a lot of teams. And I think Gully Wash is a great map to go for if that's how you want to beat a team.
Yeah, I think to that note, it's the things that look good. Mids, breaking the last hold. That was a big
That's
thing.
another one as well.
That
Yeah.
and that's the thing about Gullies. That's really the only map where you have something that consistently powerful. If you can get like the pressure cooker together, they were looking really good. Australia didn't really have an answer. They have an interesting last hold that Australia, their answer was Ubering in to kill him, and then it still didn't work. Where I think Gully is going to offer an opportunity for them to kind of play in that strategy where everyone's in front of you. You are keeping everything in control, and G6 I think thrive a lot better at those open maps where bot mode and Soapy can go for things. They can spread out on the map, and I think Gully is a pretty interesting pick. It's another one of those that can be a little volatile, where a crazy thing could happen rounds over. Where if you go to something a little bit bigger like Process, it's a little harder. For
I think that might work in G6's favor, to be fair, because we saw back on the Process game they played yesterday, it was the mid-fights on Process where, like the two backcaps happened, it goes to 2-2, and then suddenly G6 came out of the gates flying on these mid-fights. They were catching Lucas early on in these mids with these bombs, and Witness just didn't come up with an answer quickly enough, and before you know it, the game is over. They are down and out, and Gully Wash is probably the most brutal mid to last you can do. It's like, it's very, very fast. These mid fights often end up being do or die. Like getting out with a medic, you have to leave very, very, very early. So I think that might slightly play into G6's favor.
Yeah, I think I'd be willing to accept that Witness might upset G6 on their map pick of products, but I could very easily see, even outside of mids, G6 upsetting
the trend of
Witness.
teams never winning their map pick. Is this what
yeah.
we're going to continue
Picks
seeing?
It might
aren't
just
real.
continue.
Picks aren't
You know,
real.
maybe we've been messing it up the whole time, and it's been
Yeah, it's
flipped
just
for
flipped.
every
every
match.
game. Yeah.
And
Well,
it's
'cause the
like,
thing is-
makes sense then.
With how Witness EU played against AU on Gully Wash, if they play that, at a similar level, then G6 really only need to be like a bit better at pushing last, and that's at least three
less
extra
mess-ups,
rounds.
just like less
Yes.
big catastrophes.
Because-
in Lolgai, personal bias, I think Lolgai is the best medic at the LAN. Like
Yeah,
just
I think
seeing
that's fair.
over the years, Lolgai just can do no wrong. Where it's like Lau was having some rough moments there, and if you can keep your meta alive, which easier said than done, you win the game like
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah, and I think we saw the Aussies have so many great opportunities that were just that close, which is heartbreaking for them and like a sigh of relief for the Europeans.
Every single last push.
Yeah, exactly. But you just have to be that much better, and suddenly the score is like way different, which makes me a little nervous for Gully Wash for the Europeans.
Yeah, I think with G6 on Process, G6, and this is the only map they can't do this, is they are really good at just taking high ground and spamming you out, and just you can't do anything. A lot of times they're not like a huge double bomb super deep into you team, but it's a lot of fade, taking space.
You know what last map is? Last map is Metalworks.
Yes.
That map is that is a map that mids can just destroy.
Oh, yeah.
If in G6 they coveted themselves as the Metalworks team, they said they always have a strategy where they go forward, they shut you out right away, and it's over. But there's so many different counter strategies.
It's similar to what you were saying there about how they could be good in Gully Wash. That is, when I think of Metalworks mid, that is how I'm thinking of how teams win Metalworks mids. That just, it seems like it's a match made in heaven for that kind of style of mid.
I think both these 5 CPs are very mid-oriented because Gully Wash, of course, is probably the fastest map to mid to last on just because of how scrunched up it is. It's so easy. When you win mid, you're already on second. Whereas Metalworks, the mid is extremely decisive at times, especially like as a demo player. I find it very worthwhile a lot of the time on my rollout to use an extra sticky and show up, 60 damage weaker, just because if you show up a half a second faster than the other demo, sometimes even less than that, you can even shut them out early on, force the other team to go backdoor.
It's over.
Yeah, it's done.
And especially with G6, they're not a team that's going to feed a player in. Like Froyo, Banny's whole thing is that he wants his players to make plays. And with that, they make mistakes. G6, if you get out of into the valley, like through that little gate, it's over. They're not going to feed. They're going to take the high ground, and they're going to spam you out and not give anything up. Where if they can consistently lock them out of mid, they're not giving that opportunity back.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I have choked against teams where we're all on the point on height and they're all out in valley, and it's somehow you just let them refight. It's possible, but it takes so much legwork against that type of positioning that, and honestly as well, a mid like that where you get forced out and just lose off positioning is honestly ripping the Band-Aid off kind of quickly, because it's also very easy for players to get caught, for that long walk back to last to have your med get caught. And we do see a lot of mid to last on metal, not because the mid and last are close, but because that mid can be very, very
do we have time
stakes.
for very, very quick best of 3 score predictions?
Yes.
Fast.
2-1 G6.
I'm a burger. I go 2-1 G6.
2-0 Witness Europe.
National
Ooh,
pride.
Okay.
I don't know. I think if it goes to Metalworks, I think they're in trouble. I just think they win it in 2.
Yeah. So
I can see it.
I think that's us, or that's it from us for now. I don't know if we're sending you off to the game right now or something else. But,
Casters,
we're going to Casters. Okay, so we'll be starting quite soon. See you there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the upper bracket final. Like a G6 versus Witness Gaming EU, it should be a barn burner of a best of 3. My name's Tcmano, joined by the amazing DeltaMarket, and a first map, as those guys so eloquently analyzed, is going to be Product.
Yeah, the bench did a great job there for the hour, keeping everyone entertained. Fortunately, we will be going live soon. Yeah, like you said, this is upper bracket. Very important match here. Neither of these teams want to lose. They want to kind of secure their spots. And so now the 2 best teams, EU versus NA. Let's do score predictions.
Ooh, score predictions. I think I'm going to have to mirror, I think it was Marmaloo's score prediction. I'm thinking it's a 4-2. And they... because like a G6 picked it, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say they're going to win. They have kind of looked a little bit not bad on it in this specific tournament, but over the course of the history, it's not necessarily been their strongest map. But I think we're about to go live, so we got to get yours in very, very quickly.
Yeah, I'm going 2-1 Witness Gaming. I'm a believer. They've converted me.
Well, we're going to have to see as we go live on this very first mid G6 versus Witness Gaming EU. Soapy already peeking as we see the bombs come in from both soldiers. One is going to fade, one's going to go all the way behind. Hugo has fallen, but Poppy still in the back lines for Witness Gaming EU. Soapy and Kobe, they're both going in super deep to get in onto Otto. They take down the medic, and now Ixie rushing across the point, just trying to find anything at all. Levitates Chris up into the sky, gets it with some nice kills right there. Logan going to be able to protect their medic, and G6, they might lose the point, but they are going to have the heals advantage, and Logan getting some nice pipes there should be able to get them onto the point. Lucas does take down bot mode, and that's just going to slow G6 down just a little bit more.
Yeah, that was a great shot there. Soapy tried to stop the train, but Otto cannot miss these arrows, keeping Lucas alive. So critical for the team. G6 has taken their Uber across point, but I'm not sure what they've really been able to find. It looks like Poppy did eventually crater there, but that Uber really got Logan and Kobe both taken down. So I think Witness Gaming EU is just going to walk in, take this fight. Lucas is here leading the charge, hitting the lock-in loads across the point. So menacing with this weapon. And it looks like he's not able to finish off those frags, but Soapy did go down on the flank, so Witness Gaming EU so convincingly took this mid. Oh, Hugo does find another frag as well on the flank.
Yeah, really, really great stuff from Witness Gaming EU being able to retake the point, and now they have Uber, and you can see them getting into forward hold positions. Like a G6 don't want to give them that, so they're trying to get out Logan over by Cliff with his scout buddy. Bot mode is going to go down as he's getting rushed by his scout. That's Ixie for both of those kills, and now they've been able to successfully get those Like a G6 stragglers out of there, and they can set up this forward hold.
Yeah, they have set up this forward hold. It's so important on this map. One good forward hold can easily take off 2 minutes off the clock. So Witness Gaming EU, this is their chance to just secure this round. Witness Gaming EU breaking it by jumping through Soapy onto concrete, trying to find whatever he can, but he does get cleaned up. However, that means the forward hold is broken. This was successful for G6. We see Lucas doing damage on the cliff side, punishing these G6 players, preventing them from walking up, taking time off the clock.
Yeah, it's taking a lot of time off the clock. A minute down already in the favor of Witness Gaming EU. 2 minutes to go, and G6 have got to try and find some type of way to get onto this point. They're eking out a little bit of cap time right now. Hugo in a little bit of a spam exchange with the other soldier, but the Uber comes out from Witness Gaming EU, just rushing forward. Logai is all the way out of there into his main at no risk whatsoever of falling. Kobe is just going to be waiting for an arrow, and that's going to be really great stuff for Leica G6 now. They can come back in, they can push this point with Uber advantage.
Yeah, we see this Uber advantage critical for G6. This is their chance to take...
Oh, he drops! Hugo! He gets on the low guy. That's going to be a drop.
Yeah, and Kobe also hitting an air shot onto Papi there. So, bit of a consolation prize, but Lolguy not having Uber is kind of disastrous here. G6 as well has not been able to take back the point. Otto does not have Uber yet, but G6, it looks like they just want to back up. They're in shock at losing Lolguy. They cannot take the point.
They cannot take the point. Poor Kobe, he tried to trump Pride and then just got blasted back by Stickies and hit with a scattergun shot. Soapy Meister as well is also going to go down. Bot mode just getting 2v1'd over on the flank also falls, and G6 have to back up this first round. Not working out well for them. They have not gotten onto the point once.
Yeah, they have not gotten the point once. I mean, this is, I can remind everyone, this is G6 map pick. They picked this map first. They felt so confident, but Witness Gaming EU, it looks like it's theirs. Hugo stuffing this doorway, doing 1 million damage. Soapy down. This did not break the hold. I'm worried for G6. I don't know how they're going to be able to get on point in time. This hold with Poppy and Hugo here is so hard to break, and G6, they appear to agree with me because they're backing out.
Yeah, they are. Now they have got the Pyro to try and reflect those rockets, but bot mode dies instantly. Poppy with it. That is still, however, going to force everyone on Witness Gaming back. There's only 5 seconds. Leica G6 have to make it to the point if they want any chance of getting this round. They're going to be bombing over, but they're just too little, too late. And Witness Gaming take the first round of the upper bracket finals in a flawless 3, just not dropping any time.
I have not seen a 3-0 on Viaduct in a really long time right there. That was just on G6's map pick. That is stunning. We saw G6 not drop a single map yesterday, but right here, this is their first serious challenge at the start of a game. This mid is starting off the same, but high bombs are now starting with Hugo landing on concrete, going for air shots, trying to find the frag clip moments, but that did not work out. Kobe clearly cleaning that one up. Bomo finding Poppy, so it looks like G6 has found a bit of a response. They're trying to send Kobe for a flank, but that is canceled, and they will be satisfied with simply taking the point for the first time.
Yeah, they will. A much better start to a round for Leica G6, much needed after that disaster they had earlier. But now they do have control of the point. It is even on Uber, so they can expect either like a 4-man come out from everyone on Witness Gaming or just some type of exchange as they're just trying to pressure the point, trying to get things going, maybe just coordinate some type of damage onto someone on Leica G6. That is going to be Otto just kind of dodging the Stam. Lucas with his pipes just going to be sending them across the way with that lock and load. They're getting a lot of cap time onto the point, and now here comes the Uber. It is going to force it out from low guys, so both Ubers have been expended on the point. Looking a little bit better for Leica G6 because Witness Gaming weren't able to flash too many on G6, and G6 had the later Uber. You still in control of the point, but now with Ubers out of the way, makes it a little bit easier for Witness Gaming to try and pressure that point and maybe get a sneaky cap.
Yeah, they would love that, and they are sending a soldier behind Pappy, high bombing onto Logan, and Ixie runs forward, cleans that up. Hugo as well takes down Chris. This aggression by Witness Gaming caught G6 off, but Soapy has some of his own, hitting great rockets onto Otto, not able to seal the deal there, and now it's a 3v2, and it looks like Witness Gaming's gonna take back the point and have an even Uber situation to run down the clock.
It is going to be even Ubers for Witness Gaming. like you said, in control of the point, but you already see like a G6 trying to get as much cap time as possible right here, and the Soldiers just trying to go for some fade bombs right here. Soapymeister trying to push the advantage over in Connector with the help of Kobe as well, just trying to bully their way forward. Now Soapy going in for a bomb, trying to get in behind. Very weak, is going to fall. Logan also falling as well. Oh my god, Kobe just gets rocketed over into the scouts, and that is not going to be a very successful a three-man sack for like a G6. They're just going to have to back up, and they are going to be able to get out of cliff so they don't have to worry about a forward hold.
Yeah, they do fortunately avoid that forward hold, which plagued them last round. We see Hugo and Poppy on the China side of the high ground doing a lot of damage and managing to survive there. Gave us a bit of a scare. Both the soldiers down to red HP, staying alive. Bomo with the Rap Assassin, as he loves that weapon. Not going to hit anyone with the ball today. However, Lucas Tank is going to be defending the point for Witness Gaming. We have the point almost capped up. G6 being very aggressive, standing both of them.
Auto goes down!
Yeah, that is Medic going down, means that there is no Uber now for Witness Gaming. We do see everyone going forward for Witness Gaming. They want to get on Lol Guy, they want to get on the flank. Hugo going for these flank players, but guess what? Lol Guy still has Uber, and I don't see anyone getting on him.
Yeah, Lucas, the last one for Witness Gaming EU, is backed all the way over into spawn to try and build up with his own medic, and this is going to be a very good position for like a G6. Finally, they can maybe try and exact some type of revenge to getting into their own forward hold spots. You can already see the Pyro coming out. Ixie on it is going to be able to blast a lot of people back, and they have broken that forward hold a lot quicker than G6 were able to do to them.
Yeah, like you mentioned, that was way faster. Witness Gaming apparently not threatened by those forward holds. If they can keep that up, a forward hold does not mean anything to this team. Soapymeister walking through Connector definitely got the better of that spam battle. Maybe something will happen on that flank side. However, as for now, we do have soldiers bombing forward for Witness Gaming who are trying to get onto Lol Guy. Lol Guy milking as long as he can, but Hugo managing to get that force off is critical for their team. On the other side of things, it looks like 3 people went down for that force, but Auto now has full ad. Witness Gaming is going to try to do a forward hold, and they have to do a better job than they did last time.
Yeah, they are going to have to commit a lot more bodies to it, but it doesn't really seem like they're in position. Logan not really sticking up Cliff, just backing up as the Uber immediately comes in. They do lose Poppy. They're just trying to get in onto Loga, but he's chasing them so far away from everyone else. Finally, they are able to get the medic, but at what cost? Tomas, Otto, all going down. G6 might be able to salvage as Hugo gets onto Logan, but now it's only going to be the scout, Ixie, left up, and it's going to be 2 respawners from like a G6 getting onto the point, and I think they just chased a little bit too deep to get onto Lol Guy. Maybe just focus is everyone else on like a G6 who are in around the point. They are going to capture it up, but it wasn't as clean as I think it could have been. But you know what I see, Delta? Hugo up on Sniper.
Yeah, we have Hugo on Sniper, who I've been told by one of our analysts is an amazing sniper. We do see him get spotted, taking a shot, missing it unfortunately, but now we have Soapymeister jumping forward, and guess what? Hugo takes Soapy down, and Soapy felt like he had to jump because he saw the sniper. Hugo still trying to find an angle to find a shot. We have a fight happening on point right now as Witness Gaming runs forward, desperately trying to take down the point as the time is ticking down, but on the side of G6. But Kobe finds 2, Poppy and Thomas. I don't know how the soldier managed to do that. That is a huge moment right there. Now Witness Gaming has to fight this point right now, and they have to fight it without their combo players. Kobe jumping over, getting on the sniper, uncontested, does so much damage. Kobe down to 40 health, trying to chase that frag, is not able to finish it, but it doesn't matter because the point has been capped for G6.
It has been capped, and like a G6 have been able to get a round on the board, making it a game and showing maybe why they chose this map as their map in this best of 3. The sniper not working out too well for Witness Gaming EU. Hugo had an okay first kill onto Soapy, but it seems like he thinks he's got more of a tank because he's going to be continuing to roll out on it, and he's going to be on it for the second mid fight.
Yeah, maybe just trying to throw in some chaos. Either way, Hugo misses the first shot there as we have G6 all collected behind the rocks. Soapy now jumping forward, so maybe it's a flank shove. I do see that they have backed up, so G6 is playing this very slowly despite coming into contact with the sniper. Finally, Soapy is jumping, committing on that jump, not able to take Hugo down, and now Witness Gaming is playing very passively, but they're kind of baiting these players forward in due to the sniper presence. I don't think Witness Gaming is too unhappy about that point being capped because they can just take it right back and they will be in a position to hold it for longer.
Yeah, they will be in a very good position, and with the added aid of the snipers, so if like the G6 wants to try and pressure this without using Uber, it makes it so much more dangerous and means that they really have to commit to any play they do, just kind of ambling around. But actually, they have a response to their own bot mode up on Sniper, is going to be able to get Ixie, and now it is going to be a little bit of an SVS. Hugo, can he outsnipe bot mode, or is bot mode going to have to read with that pick? Actually, the Uber's just going to come out. They're going in so deep, they get onto Logan. Bot mode is going to be able to take down Hugo, but Tomas gets 2. He finds another onto bot mode, and they're just so aggressive. They haven't been able to get the Uber out of Loga. He's going to use so much later. He really only has Caps to take this Uber, but Caps might be enough. He gets Tomas, he gets Lucas, and that should be enough to at least stall the aggression from Witness Gaming.
Yeah, Chris did find 2 frags there, taking them down. What a great play there, allowing G6 to cap it back up as we have the players for both teams fully rolling out. Everyone's jumping on point, but it looks like the Soldier might have been caught out by Kobe, who almost gets Hugo to crater on 3 HP, staying alive in a critical moment. Bomo on Sniper, fighting it out on point with Lucas Tank. We have to see who is able to take the damage first, who can get on the point, and it's going to be Witness Gaming bringing the heat to G6 as Pappy jumps behind, takes the fight with the roaming Soldier as Kobe actually finds the first frag on the flank. Hugo trades it with Soapy Meister, but Poppy also goes down, so Witness Gaming seems to have run into a bit of a wall here.
Yeah, they have run into a little bit of a wall, like G6 being able to put up a really, really great defense at the moment. And it seems like their answer is just to be going to Uber in. They've been loving just going for these Uber exchanges, but bot mode immediately with the headshot onto Ixie just nullifies all of that. And we see Kobe trying to go in aggressively into backlines, gets shot down, but it's just so much damage is already done. Like G6 still in position with a very, oh my god, bot mode onto Lucas. Amazing headshot onto the airborne demo man. We're just trying to get onto Logai. Everyone just going in as deep as they possibly can. They are able to find bot mode, and they might be able to capture up the point if they're willing to send a Poppy to a longer respawn. Actually, no, they are going to be able to wait. So they're still in this game, but G6 still with very big Uber ad.
Yeah, that sniper shot, that's a frag vid shot. That will end up in the land frag vid, no doubt. We do have Witness Gaming on 75%, not quite ready to Uber, but they are so aggressive here. But G6, though, is noticing that, jumping forward with Logan, taking everyone down. G6 really counted those Ubers well. Probably LOL guys calling it out. We have ad, let's just go in, and that paid off amazingly. Witness Gaming overplayed their hand there, and G6 seeming so dominant on this map pick now. This is a far cry from what we saw the first round where Witness Gaming dominated. G6 appears to have warmed up, and I'm a little bit worried for my Witness Gaming winning prediction because they need to tighten this ship and righten it.
Yeah, they do. Luckily, they do have a little bit of time to work with. Just over a minute on the clock for like a G6, but just stuffing them in the doorway like that is not the greatest way for Witness Gaming to try and break out here. Good if you're like a G6, who are even bordering on just actual spawn camping at the moment. They're not going to commit to it. They are going to back up the spawners just a little bit too quick from Witness Gaming EU for like a G6 to do it. But you know they were thinking about it, Kobe and Sophie. They were thinking, we could do it right now, but it's not going to happen. They've got the Uber over on Witness Gaming EU. They've got the Pyro as well. It's going to be hitting some nice reflect to try and break out here. Ixie taking a lot of damage. Hugo is going to go down, but they have successfully broken the forward hold.
Yeah, they did break the forward hold, but at what cost? There's 30 seconds on the clock and you're down both soldiers. It feels like they're just forcing it to go into overtime, but they did at least break the forward hold, like you said. Bomo still on Sniper, very dangerous for Witness Gaming. I'm not sure if they've noticed the Sniper yet. If they haven't, it will no doubt be a nasty surprise. We do see Witness Gaming finally climbing up the cliff side of the map, taking the Uber forward, running into Logan's face. Lolguy milking this Uber. This Uber is so much better for Lolguy. It's like 5 seconds longer, and I'm worried about what they'll be able to catch. It looks like they'll be able to catch Hugo. Thomas on the backlines takes down bot mode. Chris on the point helps Logan take down Poppy, and it looks like G6's health is much better than Witness Gaming's, as Chris seems unstoppable on this third round as G6 takes it 2 rounds in a row.
2 rounds in a row for like a G6. You know, the first one was a little bit closer than this. This one, it's looking so dominant for like a G6, which is so crazy because, I mean, remember, it wasn't like, oh, Witness Gaming, they just won the first round. They had a flawless first round. Like a G6 didn't even get a sniff of the point. And now like a G6, like you said, have started to warm up. They've revved their engines, they found their form, and it seems like they're really in control of the game.
Yeah, it looked like Witness Gaming's response to that was running Hugo on Sniper, but that did not work. So they're going to have to go back to the drawing board and figure something else out to stop this bleeding. It looks like that's going to be sending a soldier behind, jumping back, is going to try to find what they can, but Hugo gets cleaned up. Poppy also had to jump out, so that soldier aggression for Witness Gaming clearly did not find what it was looking for. Witness G6 looking so commanding right now, sending Soapymeister behind through the connector, jumping onto the other team, just a distraction with the player ad. But Soapy staying alive right there really gave a lot for his team to just take the point. Lucas down to 9, needs an arrow, manages to stay alive by just the slimmest margins.
Yeah, just barely being able to stay alive, and that is so fortunate for Witness Gaming EU, because if he goes down there, you know that like a G6 would have just pounced on them instantly. So now they have to try and pressure the point. A lot of spam headed their way. They might just try and insta-go with this Uber, but their kind of insta-Ubers or their Uber exchanges haven't been working out too well for them, all things considered. They haven't been able to get that much success with them. A few times they've been able to get onto Logan, but we're going to see if they can have a little bit better. They get onto Logan, so that is going to be pretty good. No demo for like a G6 in the post. They are going to have a little bit better of an Uber because it is going to be a bit later. You can see Kobe just going in, just trying to jump around, draw as many eyes as possible. And Soapy bombing around as well, just trying to see if they can collapse on anyone. They find one onto Poppy. The scouts just raining around, getting in onto Lucas. Might be able to get a kill, but no. A crucial arrow from the medic is going to be able to keep their demo alive. And with that kill onto Chris, they should be able to capture up the point.
Yeah, they should be able to, but Bomo over here is holding down the fort, getting 10 extra seconds at least off the clock as Witness Gaming EU is only now able to cap. Hugo has jumped forward, and Poppy is on the China's high ground, trying to get on to Lolgai, but Poppy does go down there, so Witness Gaming, you know, they took the point back, but if you look at it, they've only had it for 15 seconds, and they're already in a position where they just can't fight over the point. They just give it up right back.
Yeah, they do just immediately give it up. I would have liked to see them try and contest that a little bit more. If you're going to lose it, might as well just try and make sure that, like a G6, have to delay it. It's all about time off that clock at the end of the day, and like a G6 are doing that exceptionally well. But the Uber is going to come in. Lucas, nice pipe once again onto Logan. They've been able to get him a couple times in these Uber exchanges, but the post has just not been working out for them. They're going to be sending their soldiers in super deep. But once again, Poppy and Hugo both going all the way, and here comes the aggression from Witness Gaming EU. They're just mulching onto like a G6. They just clean house on every single one of them. It's going to be a fadeaway bomb from Kobe. Not going to make ends meet there. And that is what they've been missing, DeltaMarket. They've been taking so many Uber exchanges. Their posts have not been working out well, except then where they're the aggressors.
That was the needed energy. That's the energy Witness Gaming needs. And guess what? We saw it on the first round. It's a forward hold. Witness Gaming EU had really strong holds. This is a good chance to take the round. G6 trying to break it. Kobe destroyed. Chris destroyed. Poppy is holding this door down like there's no tomorrow. G6 needs to figure this one out to get out, but Witness Gaming, I don't think they're going to let them figure it out. They're still over here by these doors. Hugo is now next in line after Poppy has fallen. Lucas on the high ground is watching 2 doors at once, but it looks like a scout is trying to test the left side. Lucas is there to force that scout back. On the other side of things, it looks like G6 didn't want to push because they didn't have Uber. They were afraid of the Witness Gaming Uber just taking it into spawn, and so now we're going to see the break attempt to happen, which looks like an Uber exchange maybe as G6 just pops straight through. Witness Gaming kind of sacrifices Poppy there, but guess what? They didn't sacrifice the Uber, so now Witness Gaming can do whatever they want with this Uber charge, and it looks like they're going to start by playing passive and trying to bait G6 into taking a bad fight.
Yeah, that's exactly what they tried to do. G6 recognizing it, not really going for any aggression, as I say that Soapy is going to be bombing in behind. They do find one onto Tomaz as the Uber is used, so that's going to be excellent stuff for like a G6, but they're just going to try and get as many kills as possible. If you're Witness Gaming EU, Logan defends himself nice sticky over onto Hugo, just chaos over at the cliffside. Can they keep Otto alive? He's going to have to dodge so many rockets, so much spam. Ixie with the pistol onto Kobe, who had the skill stick out, is going to be able to do it, keeps Otto alive, and they're just barely Soapy going to be able to keep control of the point, and that's going to be Botmo taking a lot of damage. Or Krissy is going to have to surf away to safety, and it is going down to the wire here, roundabout even on time, but Witness Gaming managing to put themselves into the lead.
Yeah, they took so much time off with that forward hold and Uber advantage, and now it's going to be G6 having to take back the point. However, G6 has the tools they need. G6 has full Uber ad as they take it forward with the Uber, trying to chase down whatever they can. Chris takes down Lucas Tank, and it looks like there are some players who went behind for Witness Gaming EU. The G6 side is aware of these players, though, so Hugo is going to have to make the magic happen, but it's hard when the other team simply knows you're there.
It is hard as Hugo immediately goes down, like you said. Not too much that he can do. Luckily, he does have the faster respawn timers because his team no longer has control of the point, but they only need 17 seconds left, and then they will get another round on the board. It's completely doable for both of them. Tomas going down early. Not great. A big bomb coming in from Kobe onto Tomas and also onto Cliff. Poppy just desperately waiting for some type of health to get back up and into it so he can try and go for some type of counter bomb of his own. But Uber being used from Witness Gaming EU. They once again find Logan. They're having really great success finding the demo, but no one else really on like a G6 falling to these Uber changes. Maybe G6 is just happy to give up their demo knowing that they can have a better refight with their soldiers.
Yeah, it looks like Chris and Bomo are going to take this Uber onto point as Chris takes down Lucas Tank and is ready to chase down the combo. However, Witness Gaming sent players behind. G6 is turning around for these frags. Now going back for the combo as Pappy has been dealt with. Chris is doing such a great job making this combo have such a miserable retreat, not able to take anyone down, but those Witness Gaming players must have been in fear for their lives because Chris was not missing any of those shots. Thomas, though, out of Cliff means that no forward hold will be set up. We're about to hit overtime, basically, for both teams, so this is kind of the last chance to make something happen. Witness Gaming, though, has Uber advantage. They do have ad. Soapy is taking the fight on the flank and has started off for his team well by finding that frag. Kobe doing 1 million damage to these players on point. The Uber has come out. Thomas is trying to chase whatever players he can, but G6 has done such a great job scattering that Witness Gaming just were not able to find anything with the Uber, but now they do find two all at once. It's Ixie and Otto trying to make it happen. Lucas Tank as well with the lock and load, trying to win a 2v3, but it's an impossible situation here.
It is an impossible situation, and like the G6 are able to hold on, and we have our very first tack pause. It is going to be a tack pause coming out from Witness Gaming EU, which I think makes sense considering they're down 3-1. Obviously, not their map pick, so not technically the end of the world if they lose this, but I'm sure they felt they were feeling very confident going into this map. I think that they had looking so good on it. We heard from our analyst over there that in Europe, they're dominant on this map, and to meet such stark resistance from like a G6 means that they're probably thinking, all right, we know we can win this. We still have the time. What do we need to do to try and work things out?
Yeah, for the new viewers, I will say this was G6 map pick, even though Witness Gaming EU is known for being good at this map. Also, the tack pauses are 60 seconds long, so this is really just kind of the last chance for Witness Gaming EU to figure something out, make the magic happen that they kind of got on that first round. From what I've seen, it kind of just comes down to how they're taking the situations before the Uber, like when they're just trying to fight over the point after. Because Witness Gaming EU has shown really strong Uber exchanges in general, but when Ubers aren't up, it seems like Witness Gaming EU just takes so long to take over the point, and when they have the point, they end up just giving it up, losing a player in trying to go behind or something.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I would like to see Witness Gaming EU be a little bit more aggressive even when they are down players and just try and see if they can get a little bit more time off the clock, because that time they were only 3 seconds away, but it seems like Ixie on Sniper immediately is what they're trying to do to solve all their worries, all their woes. Not hitting anything just quite yet. Poppy over on the high ground just trying to rain down spam on the combo, and Ixie on that Sniper. We know he's a dangerous man on Scout, but can he do the same on Sniper? It's yet to be seen. A very passive mid-fight, as I immediately say that. Soapy Meister is going to go down. No one really on the point just quite yet. A little bit of cap time before Witness Gaming EU, and I think with that one pick on the Soapy, like a G6 are going to be happy to give it up. They're not going to fight it, and Witness Gaming EU take the first mid.
They take the first mid, and they take it convincingly off of that Soapymeister going down to Hugo, just giving all the space to the Witness Gaming side, as we do see Bomo go sniper, so now it's an SBS situation. We see body shots going across. No headshots have rung out yet, but the SBS will be the critical matchup in this situation, as both snipers are on high ground. G6 getting on point as the Ubers are traded across point. Running across are the shiny Uber players of Witness Gaming, who look like they wanted to initiate this exchange. In the post, I'm not sure what the plan is, but Chris finds Poppy, takes him down. Chris is doing a really good job being aggressive here, getting on everyone as Soapymeister takes down Hugo in the post. And so G6, again, it seems like once the Ubers are over with, they just have complete control of the game.
They have such complete control. It was so unfortunate for Witness Gaming EU because they got Kobe down to 2 health and they were just a pistol away. Oh my, bomb mode onto Thomas, and a bomb from Kobe onto op mode. They just get mulched over by Cliff. They were not expecting that aggression whatsoever. Poppy runs in. He is able to find Logan. It seems like every time they try something, their consolation prize is, okay, we killed the demo, which is great. Logan is an amazing player. Do not get me wrong. But G6 are showing that even if you killed their demo, they are very well able to stay in this game.
Yeah, that is exactly the case as Bomo body shots down Thomas. That is the combo got down, but we have soldiers jumping forward. Hugo takes down Bomo, Poppy in as well, trying to find what he can, but it looks like this part of this fight is still going on Cliff as Poppy gets run down by Chris, not expecting the combo scout of G6 to rotate to the flank. Really smart play there, kind of guaranteed G6 having the player advantage. Lucas Tank is trying to fight over the point, but he's staring into 6 players while he only has 5 alive. There is not so much Witness Gaming can do, but they are trying to make it happen. They still have their scouts poking and prodding around. We have a sniper up for Bomo, who takes down Hugo. That is a really important shot. Witness Gaming EU, it seems like they're always just down a player. Soapy jumping around, dancing around, causing distractions. And Witness Gaming EU, they kind of seem at a loss, where the moment they get to the point, they just lose a player and they can't do anything after.
Yeah, they cannot. They've had so much trouble just getting in super clean, and especially in the post-Uber fights, they've just not been able to make anything work. They're standing onto the point right now, trying to get a little bit of cap time. It seems like both teams want to take an Uber exchange. They are going to, like G6 doing it so they can block the point. Soapy going down. Kobe going in super duper deep. Is going to be able to find one onto Ixie, but it's going to get immediately cleaned up as well. There is another soldier in deep. It is Hugo. He gets cleaned up by Chris, and that should be enough. We have a bombing soldier going in super deep as well. Poppy just roaming around. It takes down very weak. Lucas Tank with the body shot. Bot mode goes down. Tomas goes down as soon as they cap the point. They're finding it on the low guy, but the bot. Oh my god, bot mode, or Bomo, sorry, with a nice headshot onto Poppy. And it just looks like it's curtains for Witness Gaming EU on this map.
Not quite yet, but you know, this is the last chance if Witness Gaming has something to prove, but we do have Logan jumping forward. That's the demo, so aggressive for G6, taking them down. And we have Hugo kind of stuck in, almost getting air shot, it looked like, but managing to dodge that one. Ixie still respawning. Poppy has jumped in, though, and takes down Chris. This is the start Witness Gaming needs. Pocket Soldier taking down Combo Scout is not something that is very easy to do. And Lucas take great pipe right there onto Logan, taking him down. Not curtains yet, but Bomo finds a great headshot onto Pappy. Hugo taking down bot mode though, so Bomo can't do anything else now. Soapymeister taken down as well as Auto surfs onto the rock, surviving with such low HP. That was so important there. I would point out though, Lolguy still has Uber ad.
Lolguy does indeed still have Uber ad, but Auto not too far behind, all things considered, around about 90%, so should be able to get for this hold. Luckily for them, Leica G6 doesn't have a overtime on the point, otherwise it'd be nigh impossible to try and keep in this game, but they might be able to, because if Leica G6 win this one, they have won the first map. Not all terrible for a Witness Gaming EU, but not the best considering, you know, every match, it just makes them that much closer to getting into the grand finals, which the winner of this series will do. An early pick onto Caps is going to make it a little bit harder for Leica G6 to try and take this Uber in. Lolguy as well, very, very weak. And Kobe and Soapy also going down. Witness Gaming EU just coming out with some aggression out of nowhere. Bot mode is going to go down to Tomas as well, just rushing forward, getting onto the scout. And it seems like Witness Gaming EU have found some type of confidence, some type of plays to keep them into this game a little bit longer, Delta.
Yeah, they figured it out. Maybe it was the tack pause, but they seem so much more comfortable now. They are so confident in these fights. They're doing such a good job here as now Poppy holds it down on Pride Rock. G6 is going to be the first one to take the Uber, but Lucas finds a trap kill onto Bomo. Chris takes down Pop Mode. Pappy actually making this a 5v5. Hugo in connector trying to find what he can. Right now the fight is over the point, which is Chris trying to cap it up. Soapy jumping behind as well, but Soapy is spotted. What can he do? Can he get on the combo? And it looks like he's actually going to get cleaned up immediately. So Witness Gaming is doing a great job finding these frags, but G6 is the ones with the point. Witness Gaming needs to take the point back before it hits overtime, and it looks like Thomas is going to be the one to do that, jumping onto the point right here, letting G6 know what's up, trying to take this scout 1v1 with Chris, running at the medic, taking down Bomo is Thomas. Witness Gaming, they are still in this game, and Witness Gaming has slight ad here. This might come into play if Log is a little too aggressive.
It could come into play. They could try and go for the super aggressive Uber and just hope that they wipe like a G6. And we're going to have to see how it plays out. Like a G6 just peeking the point. They know that they're at Uber to set. They can't get too aggressive, but they have to stand onto the point before it goes into continuous overtime. They have to play this perfectly, as we are going to see Chris rushing across the point. Is going to get blasted back a little bit by the stick. He's just trying to circle around, see if he can find anyone at all with this Uber, but Tomas runs in, gets onto Logan. So much damage onto him, not enough to get the pick, and now it's going to be a bomb coming in. They take down Bomo early on. Can they withhold the damage? And they're killing up everyone, and they don't stand onto the point. And that is going to be a second round for Witness Gaming EU. They've still got a long way to go, but they've shown that they can regroup and they can do it, Delta.
Witness Gaming, they are a resilient team. That was not looking very promising for them, but they turned it all the way around. They made it work, and guess what? They're sticking with their post-tac pause plan. Ixie sniper to mid didn't work out too well last time, but hey, they know what they're doing. They won the round. They can do whatever they want, and here it is. Is Ixie gonna find a shot? He is not doing the same spot. He's going clip this time, maybe trying to pick down a flank player, as Soapy is actually really aggressive on the flank, jumping around, trying to get on this sniper, hitting a massive rocket there. Kobe also taking it down. Witness Gaming EU corralled in the corner as Kobe tries to chase the medic down. Solemn Vow is out. Will Kobe take down the medic, or will Otto find the frag? It's one last rocket, one last chance, but
oh
he
my God.
in. That is
he goes out for the bow. He gets him. Kobe was not expecting that. Otto actually gets the kill there. That is so ballsy from Otto, but it does net his team and a player advantage, which is immediately nullified because Logan, being Logan, just has an easy pipe onto Ixie, but still, that does mean that if like a G6 were thinking about trying to go for the forward hold, they are not going to do so.
Yeah, that is for sure. Can't forward hold, down one. We have Witness Gaming fighting over the point right here. Hugo on the flank, Thomas on point, running forward with the Uber. Logai's Uber is way better than the side of Witness Gaming's though, which is concerning, but Thomas finds a flanked, un-Ubered player who quickly gets flashed by Logai's quick reactions. Hugo jumped in as well, trying to support, goes down. Witness Gaming not quite able to make it happen in that Uber exchange, is gonna have to back up as G6 really aggressively is posturing forward. I'm worried G6 is gonna bomb, and that's exactly what they're doing. Kobe gets on the medic, goes for the air shot, doesn't quite hit it as the scout takes that frag. But guess what? G6, they don't need the air shot because they found everything.
Oh, Tomas on Logai gets the medic. That is so crucial for Witness Gaming EU. But no, I 100% agree. I think we've seen, this is maybe the second or third time now, where Witness Gaming EU, they try and go for something, doesn't end up working out. They go back over towards the cliff, and then they just get bombed by the aggression from like a G6. And the soldiers, Kobe and Soapy, doing wonders to be able to get in and get so much damage off onto the Europeans. Chris is going to go down, giving a little bit of an opening. But Logan immediately gets onto Tomas and seems like they're just going to be happy to exchange kills over the point right now.
Yeah, Bomo on sniper on the China side as Kobe takes down Hugo. Lucas Tank taking down Soapy Meister. So chaos is happening on this point as there is a fight on the G6 side of the map. Kobe 1920 trading, but Poppy found two there. And you know, during this fight, the Uber situation remains the same, but the point time has ticked down for G6. Witness Gaming only now capping. That's basically 2 minutes off the clock. That is not what Witness Gaming wanted to see, but they are not out of it yet. They do have a chance here to make it happen, and that's really going to start with this fight. Witness Gaming has a chance to take it super aggressively right now, but it does not look like they postured to do so. Maybe just wanting G6 to go forward and then take it from there.
Yeah, they could try and do so, but the thing is their exchanges have been really hit or miss. Maybe if they just try and win with the Uber advantage, things might be a little bit more determinate in their favor, but we're going to have to see as they are letting G6 hit a little bit of cap time. Logan takes a bit of damage. It's going to surf away to safety. Poppy dies, though, getting that damage off, so now any Uber exchange is going to be a lot better because they've been able to take down both soldiers on Witness Gaming EU. G6 in a really great position now. They've been able to get control of the point without having to use any Ubers whatsoever, and there's only 50 seconds left before they win this first map.
Yeah, and G6 looked like they wanted to jump the other team's clip, but Witness Gaming did a good job preventing that from happening. And now Witness Gaming fighting over the point yet again as we have the flank players. Ixie running across point, doing damage. Lucas Tank hitting a great shot, and Thomas finding the frag onto Chris all at once. This is the pressure Witness Gaming needs to take the map back as we have the ×2 on point. Ubers are being traded as Hugo jumps forward. Bomo chasing down this scout who tried to go behind during the exchange, and guess what? Bomo got juked a bit there. That Uber did not find a whole lot, and so Witness Gaming, they're going to be real happy with that one, holding up the point. Lucas Tank setting up traps, is going to hope to find an early frag off of that. However, it's going to be Kobe starting off this fight for G6, spamming rockets across the side, trying to get the flank off of Concrete. Sophie also jumping forward to commit in, but it's actually Hugo and Thomas who go huge for the side of Witness Gaming, going behind, finding two. Thomas as well, chasing down, I believe that's Bomo, who goes down. Thomas finds another. That's 4 frags for the combo scout of Witness Gaming.
That is 4 frags, and that is really great stuff for them because that means it's just more time drained off the clock. I mean, Logan and Logai should be very happy that there weren't any soldiers up on Witness Gaming EU because they were in a very bombable position, but fortunately, it was just 2 scouts in a demo. The demo maybe could bomb, but Soapy tries to bomb, gets deleted over by Concrete, and that's just going to delay Leica G6 even further. They do have a little bit of time to work with. There's still over a minute left on the clock for Witness Gaming EU, so that kill onto Soapy isn't a disaster. But I mean, just bleeding players like that with that pick onto Chris is, and it just means that every time they try and do something, they're delayed further and further, and Logan going down very weak is going to have to back up as well to make sure that this next push is their best effort.
Yeah, this has to be their best effort because there's a minute left, but you know, if this push goes really badly, this might be their last chance. G6 knows that. They're going forward here, starting it off on the point. Logan doing whatever he can. So far, no one has gone down, but I'm sure that'll change soon as the teams meet head-to-head. Ixie watches the Uber happen as Chris takes it forward, but guess what? The Uber's a little bit better for Witness Gaming EU. G6 knows this. They are running away. They want nothing to do with this Uber. They want to do the post-exchange. G6, though, has to contend with this iron grip Witness Gaming has on the high ground. Hugo also got behind and hits a great rocket, not quite finding the frag, though, on this scout. Frags are being traded, still a 5v5. Ixie, though, yeah, Lolguy finds an arrow onto Hugo. That's a crucial moment there, keeping the frag parity. If Lolguy didn't hit that arrow, it would be player frags for Witness Gaming. It's going to be Chris and Bomo trying to cap up the point right now. Soapymeister going behind. Last fight of the game. Who will take it? G6 is standing on point, but Pop jumps onto the medic, getting cleaned up by Bomo.
He almost got the drop onto Lolguy, not the actual drop because Lolguy didn't have, but the figurative one. But it seems like Witness Gaming EU are in for a world of hurt. They're just barely being able to get out with their medic auto alive. But fortunately for them, they just need to capture it once because they have gotten overtime on the point and they are able to win it. They're going to be walking up right now. They've got Uber, both teams do. It should be an Uber exchange. They're standing a lot of cap time on the point. Now here comes the Uber from Leica G6. It is going to be Chris walking into the combo. The counter Uber has been used. Soapymeister in the backlines. 2 players from Leica G6 in the backlines. A scout bot mode flushing in. They're Laxson onto everyone on the Witness Gaming. Kobe doing so much damage. It's just going to be Otto and Lucas Tank alive. Can they hold on to it? I don't know if they're going to be able to. He's doing so much damage, but it's not going to be enough. And Leica G6 take the first map 4-2.
Yeah, that could not have been closer. We saw so many overtimes there. Witness Gaming, they almost managed to pull that last round out, but man, G6 cannot take anything away from them. They were playing at the top of their game. They did not let that one go. They held that one down.
No, they did phenomenal work. I mean, even when, like you said, Witness Gaming kind of found their form again and were kind of starting to pick up momentum, like G6, you know, they were able to calm things down, play the game at their own pace, and they weren't, you know, they didn't let Witness Gaming kind of outmaneuver them with, you know, throwing Ixie on the sniper and stuff like that. They were able to just slow the roll, play their own game, show why they picked that as their map, and not lose confidence after that disastrous first round. I mean, imagine you go into the upper bracket, you know, finals, you pick a map, you play it, and you get, you know, no time on the clock. That could be a big mental deal breaker for a lot of people, but G6, they're able to reset. That's why they've won so many lands previously, and they've shown it again right now.
Yeah, G6, their players are so resilient. Like you said, they had to deal with that first round, and they did not let it slow them down. They kept going. They also had to deal with what Witness Gaming did to try to right the ship. They put Hugo on Sniper, they put Ixie on Sniper, but none of that deterred G6. They just played their game. It seemed like G6 didn't really get dragged into worrying about the sniper, running their own sniper. They kind of just put Bomo on Sniper whenever they wanted to. They did not like they didn't let Witness Gaming get into their head. And we are going to be throwing to analysts.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, you two, for covering that. Exciting map 1, to say the least. And importantly as well, yeah,
there's mourning happening right now.
Yeah. We'll give you a moment of peace. But Marmaloo, congratulations on the correct prediction.
You know, what can I say? What can I say?
Yeah.
4-2, never a doubt, especially when they got 0 seconds in the first round. You know, never a doubt.
Yeah, that is, run us through that, actually, because I was actually being a very bad crew member. I was forcing production to peel me away from the Australian Froyotech game, which is, I think, still happening and still in Nailbaiter, but
I was kind of doing the same thing. So, yeah, I was jumping back and forth because the Australian Froyo game was happening at the same time, along with the Balls Land team having. It's too many good games right now. But
yeah,
main thing that I saw that impressed me is Soapy and Kobe were doing so well. Well, way better than I thought. They were pushing the advantage when they ran a sniper. I saw at the end, I think Witness Europe was trying to run their own sniper, and they were trying to figure something out. But I think that sniper definitely is just like throws a cog in anything you want to do. You have all these set plays and then headshot. It's all like we're talking about the flow chart.
Yeah, this was like that first round came through, clean 3 minutes, and then as soon as, even though Bomo wasn't on sniper the whole time, and even in some of the later rounds, I don't even sniper. It just changed the pace of the game enough, and the Europeans, it just threw them off their game so much that even towards the end, they were just, the momentum was just gone. I thought in that final round they might have had a chance of getting back in, but eventually, I don't know, like you say, the soldiers on G6 have just been playing the height around the Witness side of the map so well, landing China, landing Cliff, sometimes going behind onto grass as well, and just being a nuisance. And every time a push comes through, there's always a soldier spamming, early forces coming out, and I've got to say the Ubers on Witness, that's normally one of their strongest parts of their game, and they just couldn't get it going.
Yeah, and on the topic of Bomo not playing a ton of sniper, it's similar to what you were mentioning, where he likes to switch on, switch off, which is almost, I mean, if it's done well, kind of the best of both worlds.
Oh, yeah, it's better.
Yeah, sniper, obviously, the class doesn't do anything if no one's peeking the class, but there are advantages to not letting your opponents peek sightlines. There's a lot of really valuable real estate from which a team can fight the point, which is the most important thing in Koth, that are unavailable if there's a sniper. So if you can have the fragging of a scout while also the enemies being on their toes, thinking you might have a sniper, and that kind of positioning, it is, as you mentioned, the best of both worlds.
I think it also allows for Kobe to be able to stay on Cliff. He's a spam and 1v1s is his thing. He's not as much of a high flyer, big bomber going for all that, but having a sniper every now and then forces the soldiers to automatically be more aggressive. Yeah. And Kobe is sitting there shooting the soldiers bombing. Mm-hmm. They can switch. And the main thing that really has turned the G6 Viaduct on is Soapy being more proactive, pushing through the flank, doing that. And what you're saying, the Ubers aren't as good. There's just no one to shoot. They're behind them. They're causing people to turn around.
Forced earlier as well. Because the amount of damage the combo's taking from these soldiers is brutal.
Yeah, they just get no room to breathe. And if you can't get it all set up, it's impossible. Especially you play your own game. You're always used to it. And a sniper just destroys any game plan you have. You have to change everything in order to stop that sniper.
Yeah, and this is not cope for EU, but we can only imagine how fun this game would be without that class. But these guys have played against Sniper on product. I mean, it is baked into the map at this point. You need to know how to play against a Sniper on that map.
Well, it's a
if you
counter
wanna play
to
it.
some things. It doesn't let you do some play styles, and it's like you need to be used to it. But overall, good map, and I think it definitely showed why they picked that map.
Yeah.
I think we were all kind of a little on the edge about them picking that map, and they kind of showed why they wanted to. Now let's see, is there a reason Europe picked Goalie Wash?
Yes, which again, I'm kind of scared about because on the one hand, you can think G6 are picking product just because they played against balls on it and played very well, or if they're just picking it because they feel obligated to pick the Koth because they feel better on Koth, which would be a weaker reason, a little sketchier. They looked strong, so now we have to call into question Witness Gaming EU's motivations for picking Goalie Wash because, again, as we went into length about before the series even started, this is the map that they were shakier against Witness Gaming AU in their series.
I think it's still a good map for the Europeans. I think even, despite like they did run away a bit and they had some late faults against the Australians, I still think Goalie Wash is good for them. I can understand why they picked it given the rest of the maps in the pool. I'm more concerned for the Europeans looking forward at Metalworks. Like I said, when I gave my 2-0 prediction, I was like, well, if it's not 2-0, I think it'll be a 1-2. Because even though I think Witness Europe are favourites on Gully, I have reservations about their Metalworks towards the end. So maybe that's the case. But I know I think their Gully Wash has been good. I think their mid-fights are very strong and their ability to break these stalemates is good. I think it's a map, like we mentioned before, in great depth in our previous 40-minute death segment, right? We talked about all these maps and our reasons that I think it plays to the like sort of coordination strength that Witness has so well, and it just matches their style perfectly. I think there's, even despite coming second best on product, I think it's going to be good. But at this point, I think they needed to win product to win the series.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because if they do get to the Grands, they have to play product or Bagel. They're playing one of them, so that's an instant map down unless they kind of figure that out. But with Goalie Wash being said, the main thing I kind of want to see on this first mid is Soapy is a type of soldier who does like the fast rollout, commits on the demo really quickly. And if he can keep Lucas in check just for one mid, just in the back of his head, he's like, I can't.
He did that on Process. That's like how they turned around so many of these late rounds on Process. He was getting on Lucas every single time.
And now in the back of his head, he can't go all the way forward because he may just die. And it's definitely a change. If you're really a team that likes to stuff big door, if your demo can't go all out, it doesn't work as well.
And for the exact same reasons why peppering in a little bit of sniper on product is really good at conditioning your opponents. Likewise, a soldier just getting stupidly aggressive on a mid, almost coin flipping the mid in many cases just to try and trade out with the demo. Well, when it works, you know on later mids, that play still provides value because that demo is now even more scared.
Yeah, and he's well in Goalie Wash as well because of the way they roll out. You can even sometimes have a scout helping out as well. Scouts can get there pretty quickly, jumping up that right hand side. You can really go quite aggressive. It's not a bit more risky than sending soldiers in, but you have to be very careful on these Goalie Wash mids as a demo. And I don't know, Lucas had a target on his back in that Process game.
Yeah, like I said, if you take down Lucas, and it's like the same thing with Habib. They're used to Habib. If Lucas is playing the same, if you can take him down, abuse the fact that he may be too aggressive, and minimize the times where that aggression pays off, in the aggregate, you'll win in the long. But yeah.
One player that I am very curious to see on Goalie Wash is going to be Kobe, because as you mentioned, Kobe is not exactly the acrobat who jumps around and plays cat and mouse with the scouts and is, doing this elegant dance. Kobe is someone who will walk up to you slowly and hit every single rocket, and you will just die. Like, he hits every single shot. He is a ball of death, but he's not zipping around everywhere. And I think that is definitely favored on a map like Gully, where a soldier can just, let me waddle through this door, see what's going on. Oh, there's a guy lobby, and I just hit 2 rockets, and now he's dead.
He's just standing choke. It's like, oh, want to push this guy? Okay, I lost.
Yep.
And it'll be interesting to see how the different teams kind of approach it, if we're going to see like more wraps to mid or things like that. But I'm curious to see if G6 can deal with like the Witness Gaming's last pressure and the last holds and breaking like Lucas and Water and dealing with all that. But they've seen it before, so it's not new. So I'm sure they've talked about it or going to talk about that.
Yeah, they'll have some ideas, but yeah, I think just playstyle-wise, it's definitely a strength of the Europeans. It's we didn't see I don't know, we saw Process yesterday. That's the only 5 CP we've seen between these two teams, like at least in officials since they've all come over to Denver. But I don't know how much can be gleaned really on how Gully was. Gully was last place so differently to process. I'm not sure you can really judge much parallel, but like we say, yeah, the strength in Witness we saw in the Australia game, their holds and the way they break those last holds is very, very strong. And yeah, it's on G6. They've got a match. They've got to find some counter. The demo underneath could be great. This coordinated spam and sacking really quickly that we saw against the Australians as well.
I forget you don't have your phone. We got to wrap up. We're going to match in a sec, but otherwise, good luck out there.
Yeah, we'll send it over to casters.
Hello, everyone. We are back with the upper bracket final. Leica G6 versus Witness Gaming EU. Leica G6 winning the first map 4-2 on product. But, you know, that's all in the past, DeltaMarket. We're here now on Witness Gaming EU's map pick, which is going to be Gully Wash.
Yeah, we are on the EU boys map pick, so everything that just happened, put it out of your mind. This is the highest level TF2 I think we have seen in the past 3 years, so I'm excited for this one. If I had to guess why Witness Gaming picked this map, it starts with an L. Lucas Tank is probably the reason they went with. They probably just expect destruction from their demo, maybe putting a lot on his shoulders, but there's probably other reasons as well for picking this map, but that's definitely a big one.
No, that is a big one. I mean, Lucas has been such a standout player this entire tournament, just hitting pipes like it's nothing, doing damage like it's nothing, every single game. I think Witness was telling us he has been over at least or comparable to 350 DPM. So he is having a really, really great time in this tournament, and it's only made more impressive considering the fact he is going up against some amazing demos. You know, it's not like he's just the only good demo here. No, we got Artist, Habib, Logan. I mean, Enrift as well has been popping out from the Australian. So there's so much great talent and competition, and Lucas has been rising above it very consistently.
Yeah, it's like Ben said, the training wheels are off now that he can use the NA unlocked, the lock and load. It's just so strong in his hands as he's showing. For those who don't know, Gully Wash is kind of the stereotypical demo map. On the mid, you just have such high ground at the start, and we've seen in the past, it's definitely less common now, but sometimes a demo will just find a couple frags or do a bunch of damage, keep the team in big door at the start. I don't think we'll see that here, but there's still the chance that Lucas could do something great on these mids.
No, there definitely is. I mean, they've been looking so good on this in scrims as well against other teams like G6 and Froyo, who, by the way, there is also the Essential stream going on, and we had a little look at some spicy stats going on over there. But quickly, I want to get your predictions on this map because we are about to go live.
I'm going to go 4-1 for Witness Gaming EU.
Ooh, okay. I also think Witness Gaming EU are going to be able to take it. I'm going to say it's going to be a little bit of a slower game. I'm going to say 3-2. It's going to be close, but we're going to have to see if either of us are right as we go live on the very first mid, watching Logan as he gets immediately bombed by Hugo. He isn't going to go down, but he is going to get pressured out a little bit, giving a lot of space to Witness Gaming to try and take control of the point. We are going to see Soapy going in very deep, not going to be able to get the kill, but it's going to be trades all the way across. Ixie running all the way back, going to be able to get onto Bomo as it seems like Witness Gaming EU are going to have control. Hugo onto Logai, does get the pick. That's going to be great stuff here. Seems like a G6 still want to try and fight this with the remaining players they have left. Logan over on the point, Chris over on the low ground with Kobe, but they kind of recognize the writing on the wall. They're not really going to be able to fight that, especially with Otto so much closer to the midpoint than Logai was, so they're just going to have to give it up.
Yeah, Otto is already here on this point. The Uber advantage isn't really enough to act on. However, the heal advantage is present faster, allowing Witness Gaming to take the mid. This is a first mid win for Witness Gaming EU. This is starting out excellently. Witness Gaming, however, now has to figure out how do they want to break this this mid 2-second stalemate. It looks like big door is the door of choice. I'm expecting them to maybe try to send someone behind. We've seen them in this situation in the first day where usually Thomas would kind of go into baby door, going behind the other team. This time it doesn't look like they're starting off with that. They're starting off with everyone in big door trying to find a frag here.
Yeah, they are trying to find a frag. They're having a lot of pressure over on big door. Seems like they're kind of peeking wood as well. They're thinking about it, they're teasing it, but they're not committing just quite yet to going in behind, which we know can be such a valid play and such a powerful one as well if you make the most of it. Ubers are now completely even. Both teams do have 100%, so it is just going to be a little bit of a standoff between them to see who tries to go for something first. You'd expect it to be like a G6, or sorry, no, Witness Gaming EU, but that doesn't stop like a G6 from maybe trying to get creative here as they are are going to be bombing and Kobe in very, very deep over towards Big Door. He's going to be able to get onto Lucas, and with 2 players down, that's going to open up all of these choke points to like a G6.
Yeah, it has opened everything up for like a G6, and now they're finding everything on Witness Gaming EU as Sophie goes for the spoon. The Market Gardener not able to land that one on auto, but guess what? He is going to be able to make it out with his life, so at least Witness Gaming EU has not been completely washed out. They are still on second, now kind of in a reverse of situations, so as we just saw. Now it's Witness Gaming EU on the defensive, having to contend with G6 pressuring Big Door. It looks like G6 is being really active here, just running through the doors. Soapy is already had gone through wood into lobby side. G6 kind of doing this strat, and it looks like it's working out really well because the Witness Gaming side has been completely disorganized, but Chris gets taken down to Lucas Tank. Bomo trades out Hugo for that. Now there's a wrap onto the mid fight, so the fighting is kind of on both sides of the map here. Poppy fails to find the Uber Force. However, Thomas is still here. The Ubers are being used. They are also being traded as Lol Guy pops as well, but Witness Gaming EU, look at the second point. It's been capped right out from under their nose.
It has been capped, and they have to fiercely try and back up. Soapy just bombing in super deep over in River is going to be taken down, and there is Hugo trying to go for some type of attempt. Ixie taken down. They're all falling one by one by one. Lucas does get a nice pick onto Chris, but I don't think that's going to be enough to stem the tides as Kobe bombs in. He's already on the point. He might just cap it up all by his lonesome. Finally, they step onto it to try and block it, but it's not going to be enough. Logan with some nice pipes seals the deal, and that is going to be the first round for like a G6.
Yeah, like a G6 takes that first round very convincingly, I have to say. Witness Gaming, you know, they did win the mid, but they were not able to convert a mid win. I think Witness Gaming might have picked this map because of their mids, but you have to have more than that. You have to be able to convert these rounds. It looked like they were trying to break out a Big Door, but they didn't even send anyone behind. So Witness Gaming, they got to figure out what they're trying to do here.
Logan not going to be immediately pressured. This time it's going to be a soldier. Later on, it gets juggled by the stickies that Logan had. Both soldiers immediately dying for Witness Gaming. Tomas also falling as well. It might be a clean sweep as Kobe is going to get the other scout. It's just going to be Otto trying to run out, and I think this is going to be a delayed medic death. No amount of jukes and dodging is going to be able to solve that one for him. And I mean, like you said, Likey G6 just looks really, really good on these mids.
Yeah, they look so strong on these mids. And guess what? They have full ad after that mid. They're going to be taking it into last. We do have Thomas on the Pyro class doing a good job protecting the sentry gun, but that's kind of only a silver lining here. You won't win the game simply because you keep your sentry gun alive. You have to do more than that. We do see G6 taking it in through River, popping immediately as they try to take down this gun. The Pyro has caused a little bit of chaos and managed to survive, which is really important for WG. However, Chris and Logan combined to find 2 frags, which is absolutely huge. Soapy goes down on the point, but I'm not sure if that's enough. Lucas finding a lot of damage. Thomas as well, trying to salvage, but G6 convincingly has taken 2 rounds in a row. It seems like nothing can stop them right now.
They look so on top of it. They look so in control. They know exactly what they want to do. And they, I mean, Witness Gaming EU are just really on the ropes right now. Their mids have not been working out. Both times they've tried to get some immediately pressure onto the demo, and it's just not been working out for them. They've been losing both their soldiers early on to mid, so hopefully they're going to have a different game plan going in.
Yeah, that is what's happening. We do see a right side mid as Lucas Tank walks up the banana side. They push Logan all the way back, and so that means that the chaos has happened on this mid. Poppy is in the elbow as well. Hugo takes down Soapy. Kobe behind trying to land a strike for G6, but guess what? G6 isn't even in mid anymore. They left. Kobe is in drop down, gets cleaned up, so now there are no soldiers alive for the side of G6. Witness Gaming, this is their chance to show why they picked the map. This is a perfect chance to start taking ground, and they are by going into second. It looks like they've gotten in uncontested. They're sending their soldiers into River. Hugo's flanking. This is a chance to get on the medic. Hugo hits a right rocket, gets the force off. This is what Witness Gaming needs here.
He has been able to stay alive somehow. Still, he's just leading them back over into Locus. They're chasing him so far. Finally, he does go down, but he's bought his team so much time, so much space. They have a lot of cap time on second, but they're not going to commit to it because I guess they're just not feeling confident about it with the player disadvantage. So they're just going to back up onto mid. They've gotten the Ubers out of the equation. It is going to be even right now. So all right for Witness Gaming. They haven't had the roll that like a G6 have had last 2 times they have been able to win, but bot mode is up on Spy, and he's in the perfect position to maybe try and get the cheeky stab onto an unaware Auto. They haven't spotted him just quite yet. He's not going to go for it actually just quite yet. He's going to decloak a little bit further away. He's going in for the stab. He gets it just like that. Bot mode coming up so huge. It gets immediately deleted, but it doesn't matter. His job is done.
Yeah, Bomo finding the stab on the medic. Bomo making it all happen here as Thomas is in the big door area. Standing, I would imagine, is in abject disbelief. These Witness Gaming players, I hope they are resilient, because I would be so demoralized right now if this had just happened to me on my map pick. But Witness Gaming, they're recollecting. They have 2 players behind, causing some chaos as now Bomo comes up through River along with the rest of G6 on the other side of the map. So this Witness Gaming flank needs to make the magic happen here. Chris ends up in River, and these Witness Gaming players get destroyed. They did not get anything off of that flank.
Yeah, they didn't get anything, and at a bare minimum, maybe they bought themselves a little bit more time, but Otto is still only at 50%. I mean, Lucas, with a nice sticky kill onto Chris, is going to slow down like a G6 because that's their pocket scout down. They can still take this Uber. I mean, you know, Gullywash is a map that maybe you can lead things on your projectiles, which is exactly what they're doing. Soapy and their demo Logan just flying all the way in. They do find one onto Ixie, which is going to be really great. They find another onto Lucas Tank, so that's going to be no demo. Even though Witness Gaming do have Uber advantage now, it's going to make it a lot hard for them to try and repush this, and it seems like they have been able to do it well. Poppy is just going to get collapsed upon over and choked, so that kind of maybe pincer play that they could have done, not going to be able to work out.
Yeah, Thomas walking in through River, finds sticky traps and
but
to them. He is down, and guess what? Logan and Soapy combined to find 3 frags. This has gone all wrong for Witness Gaming EU. Otto trying to surf out, but I'm not sure what he can do. Kobe is actually on the shotgun. I did not notice that one, pulling it out for land. Kobe 1920, confident in his MGE skills, is going to try to find a frag. And it's going to be Chris finishing that one off. G6 on the point, trying to finish this cap off. This is going to be 3 rounds in a row for G6.
It is going to be 3 rounds in a row for like a G6. And I don't know if you guys can hear this at home, but there is so much commotion every time from the stage. Every time like a G6 do something, they are so hyped. They are so pumped right now. They are so in control. They know they're doing well. They know that this is their game to lose, because honestly at the moment, their mids have been going well. Their execution of their pushes have been going well. They haven't really been making any major mistakes. They look so in control.
Yeah, they look and sound so in control. The atmosphere in the arena is amazing here. These players are so hyped up all the time. They let you know when something's happening because you can hear it.
No, yeah, you 100% can hear it, because they are just and that's kind of like a little bit because even when they went for attack pause, like a G6 cheered at that, because they knew that they had forced their enemy into being so flustered that they had to take a step back. And for them, they can perceive that as a win. You know, a little bit of mental things here, but we're going to have to see if Witness Gaming EU, if the Europeans can come back and reset.
Yeah, they want to. It's their map pick. We know they have what it takes. It's just a matter of can they execute it on this mid. Gonna be having to really take it to them, because you cannot go down 4-0. Going down 4-0 is an absolute disaster. This first mid, it's going to be so critical what Soapy and Logan and Lucas can't do, as we see a submarine mid kind of for Soapy, actually jumping over, getting cleaned up by these scouts who are so on point here. Hugo, it appears, went up, dropped down, and is causing some chaos. However, right now the frag situation is still even. Ixie is going to try to make something happen by fighting it out on the mid point, who does end up helping Lucas Tank take down Logan. 4v4 on the point. Will the flank scout for Witness Gaming find a frag here? Lucas walking across point, shooting stickies over right now. It is just a DM fight. Whoever lands the first shot will win. But actually, Witness Gaming managed to cap the point and has players behind who are currently flanking. Hugo manages to get on Bomo in choke, getting that frag down, taking the 1v1 versus Kobe 1920, who gets helped out. And Kobe 1920 goes down.
Yeah, that's an amazing Uber coming out from Witness Gaming EU. They are backs up against the wall, and they've been able to make sure that they got the maximum with that Uber. They get control of mid, they get control of second, and this is their best opportunity to maybe try and get a point on the board. They got 2-player advantage. They're not going to do anything with it just now. I would have liked to see maybe them try and go for some type of sack onto Lokai. There's a little bit of presence over in lower. Ixie trying to go for something is just going to be met with the flank players wrapping around over towards River. Kobe with some nice rockets gets that that kill. And now with a 2-player advantage, seems like a G6, they want to get aggressive here.
Yeah, they do. They're pumped up. They want to get whatever they can. No one wants to sit on last. Definitely not G6. They're in river. They know they have player advantage. They want to make something happen here. Right now, it's apparently going to be just back up. We're up 3 rounds. Don't take the risk. Don't give these other team the momentum. That has been the decision made. So far, we do see actually Bomo on Spy. Maybe just checking off classes. I'm not sure if he's left spawn, but we do have Bomo on this class who's going to try to make something happen here. We have Lucas Tech finding a frag onto Soapy Meister, who kind of got caught out and pushed out of the spawn. Bomo does switch to Pyro, so he was probably simply in spawn checking off classes. Hugo goes down to Kobe 1920 as there's point cap time. Someone got on point. I think that was Ixie who ends up getting cleaned up. Poppy as well. So really good attempt to cap the point, but it was just not enough there as the Witness Gaming lads go down 3. But actually, I didn't notice the Ubers got forced during that situation. Somehow the Uber got forced on G6, so WG is in a great chance to take the round now.
They're in a really great spot. It was Hugo who went and got the force onto Logai, and even better for them, there is so much cap time on the point that they only really need to stand on it for a moment, just a snip of it, and that is going to be a round for Witness Gaming EU. It all comes down to the execution of this push. Seems like they're going to be going in through lockers and probably telegraph pretty hard, but the Pyro not in position to really try and stuff it over on the right side. A lot of damage. They find one on the Kobe. Good opening pick. The late game heavy coming out from Chris, doing a lot of damage. Both soldiers going down. They're trying to stand on the point, but Lucas Logan going to be traded out, gets the pipe onto Ixie, and it's not going to be enough. Witness Gaming EU just not having the manpower to deal with that late game heavy and Vasticki's on point, and they're just going to have to back up, and now it's going to be like a G6 with the perfect opportunity to push out a little last.
Yeah, G6, they don't only have aggression, they also have the defensive side of things down. That last push was well executed by Witness Gaming, but the heavy play by G6 was so smart, so well done, that it just blocked the cap from ever being able to happen. Bomo on the Spy, just checking off classes again, showing that G6 is really on top of things. They're not even letting the chance for an off class catch them off guard. They are checking those off classes on repeat to make nothing get by them. Right now, we're going to have about a bit of a reset. It looks like G6 does not want to push out as these Ubers are going to equalize. Poppy, though, takes down the sentry gun despite there being a Pyro. So now Witness Gaming has a really good chance to send some sort of bomb because there's no sentry gun to block.
Yeah, there's no sentry gun. It is all about timing when going in onto last. But Gully Wash, it's one of the better maps really when it comes to last because there's so many openings, so many ways in that this is where Froyotech coined the pressure cooker, and you can really try and get things going there. As we see a very weak scout over in lower, it was Ixie gets shot down by Kobe. So that is just gonna delay and put more pressure on Witness Gaming EU to try and do something because, like you said, there's only 40 seconds left on the round timer before we go into a round reset. This is the furthest that Witness Gaming has gotten in this map in terms of map control. They don't want to give it up for free, so they're probably going to have one last-ditch attempt, and getting an early pick onto Kobe is going to be a great way to start that off.
Yeah, early pick onto Kobe as the Uber comes out through Shutter, trying to chase down the Bomo Pyro, is unsuccessful in that regard. So Thomas has not found a frag quite yet. However, Soapy is low health, has to go back to the resupply room. There's a lot of pressure on point as both the scouts are in secret and water, causing chaos. But Bomo Heavy in secret is locking it down, taking down Ixie, shooting down the soldier who is in the water side. And it looks like the round reset is going to be an inevitability. Witness Gaming was not really...
Oh my god.
Oh yeah. One last frag happening, but the Bomo Heavy, it's just too strong.
It's just too strong, and Witness Gaming don't know how to deal with it. This late game heavy, I mean, Logai was over in secret while bot mode was over on the point, and I don't know how many arrows he shot into that man, but he was getting tanked so hard throughout that. And, they were able to get everyone, they were able to get some nice early picks, they were able to have a really good Uber, but just the post, they're not able to clean up this heavy and get that focus fire, so hopefully they change things up on this mid.
Yeah, hopefully they change things up as we see Soapy landing on bats, jumping over to Lucas Tech, taking him down. That's the demo for WG down from the roamer of G6. Thomas is on the high ground here trying to make something happen, but it looks like WG has accepted the inevitability of having lost their demo and having nothing to compensate for it.
Yeah, they have nothing whatsoever. The only good thing is that Otto didn't go down and they only lost their demo, so they still have a chance at trying to hold on to this point. But without a demo just means that all these chokes are so much freer for everyone else in like a G6 to get in. You can already see Soapymeister in behind. They're just taking the Uber in. They want to get onto Otto. He doesn't have Jets quite yet. Finally, he uses so much later. Somehow Logan, even though they use first, is going to die. The low guy is just completely disconnected. Chris is one of the last ones in. Almost gets in onto the medic with a nice surf, but is not able to connect the shots and is going to be able to go down. Kobe is hiding over and drop down, tries to get in, but just kind of mistimes it a little bit, shows his hand a little bit too early, and that is going to be the best case scenario for Witness Gaming EU.
Yeah, Witness Gaming EU, they got what they needed. They have full ad, they have player ad. This is Witness Gaming's chance to put, well, it's not full ad, but it is a bit of ad. They can take a round with this advantage if they take second cleanly. It looks like they're going to be trying to do that by going in through choke. Lucas Tank is there sticking it up. It's going to be Thomas kind of poking at first, but it looks like they decided not to go really quick, even with that player ad. Witness Gaming EU choosing to take a slower approach to winning this round.
Yeah, they're really, I don't know, maybe being a little bit scared here of like a G6. They're not going off of all of these advantages. Sure, they do have Uber advantage, so they might be trying to wait for that. Seems like they are going to go to try and use it over through choke. They're making some space. They don't have to immediately use, and they might be able to get this for free and not have to use Uber, as everyone on like a G6 is so far back, and they're spamming them out really, really well. So at the end of the day, I think you have to say that was very well played from Witness Gaming EU. They went for the safer approach, but even then, they didn't have to do the worst case scenario. Use the Uber, not get anyone, and then you're in a leapfrog scenario awkwardly on second to last. But now, even Ubers, they're looking in on to last. They had trouble here last time, DeltaMarket. Are they going to be able to find some way to have a lot better of a showing?
Well, it's not starting off well, as Poppy has been taken down by Chris. That's the combo scout on G6 being so proactive on this defense, and G6 is diving into lobby. They're actually trying to chase Lucas Tank through Baby Door, almost through Shutter. Chris is doing so much damage to this demo, but there's a back out! The back out! No one's there! That's gonna be 3-1. Witness Gaming EU just taking that one. I was kind of complimenting G6's aggressive approach there, but I guess it let Thomas sneak through.
It did let Thomas sneak through. I mean, listen, if you're ever pushing it into someone and the push is going a little bit too well, just double check, make sure that you got all players in front of you, because sometimes that means that, you know, that less damage that you're taking is because there's some sneaky guy going in behind. But really heads up play coming out from Witness Gaming EU as we go in onto another mid. Finally, they have a point on the board on their map pick. Are they going to be able to get any more and take us to a map 3, guaranteeing themselves a spot in the grand finals, as Kobe doing so much damage over on the medic, over in the backlines as Lucas goes down. Not starting off well for Witness Gaming, but they do get two. The both scouts going down for like a G6. Low guy in a little bit of a dead zone. Might have to just duck and dodge around. Is going to have to back up as well, as he's getting cut off at the path. They just run in. They take him down. Ixie and Tomas get the final two like a G6 players. Soapymeister over in the back lines, trying to do anything he possibly can, but anything is not going to be everything, and it is not enough, Delta.
Witness Gaming EU, they woke up. It's 3-1, and this is a perfect chance to make it even closer. Witness Gaming, this does not look like the same team. This is commanding. This is dominance. This is the Witness Gaming EU that won Poland. This is the team that can win this LAN. They are showing up right now, and it looks like they're going to be in lobby. Everything's cleared. There's no sniper. There's no spy. Nothing to just drop the medic out of nowhere, besides sticky traps, which will probably be cleared as they do go through Shutter. Finding the Pyro. Thomas is going to try to chase this frag, but it's taking a little longer than Thomas would probably like. Bomo does eventually get cleaned up by Lucas Tank, so that is player advantage achieved. Chris is on the heavy class, getting arrow tank, doing a good job staying alive, but Hugo is here to take that player down. Witness Gaming EU, I think they're going to take 2 rounds in the span of about 3 minutes. They've woken up. They're taking it back.
They have woken up. They have taken it back. I'm not going to lie, Delta. I was so worried when I saw that heavy come out of spawn for like a G6. I'm like, oh no, here we go again. But they were able to do it really, really well. They got the pick onto Logan, meaning that they could just stand onto the point, heavy, greater damage, or awful at mobility, could not get there to try and block it, and they were just able to get the other picks to seal the deal. So it is going to be 3-2. Like a G6 still in control. They're still ahead, both in terms of map and in terms of rounds of this map, but Witness Gaming trying to claw their way back. So much damage coming out onto bot mode. Poppy going in super deep to get that kill, and now they're just going to be playing across the way. They do lose another scout, as they are going to be bombing in. Low guy with a nice surf over towards safety, and this mid not going nearly as well as the previous half for Witness Gaming. They might be able to keep Otto alive as he's rushing out over into lobby, but like a G6 definitively winning it.
Yeah, they do definitively win. Witness Gaming EU going to be able to stabilize on second point, so all is not lost. In the past, we've seen G6 go big door and get players behind. This time, it looks like they might be trying to do that. However, they are currently still on mid towards the choke side. So with G6, maybe they'll mix it up, maybe they'll go choke, maybe they'll go back to their staple, a big door, and that's exactly what they are doing as they start to rotate over. Expect to see, oh, they have Bomo on Sniper. I didn't actually notice that, so they are not going to be doing the flank play. They are bringing out the Bomo Sniper at this critical moment. Maybe he'll surprise Lucas Tank, get a headshot off, or maybe he'll rotate back to Choke. He sees the medic.
They're shoving Choke!
Yes, Choke shove is coming in, but guess what? They spotted this, and Bomo killed Poppy. So Bomo showing their worth there. It's hard to go behind when that sniper takes a frag. Witness Gaming trying to stand on second, but they're getting bombed from Choke. Everyone is caught out here. Lucas Tank goes down. Otto behind point, getting chased by Chris. I'm worried for these members. They're trying to frag, but it looks like they're corralled.
Yeah, they are corralled. It's only a 3v4 at the moment because Poppy is a respawner. One of them is a sniper, so maybe it is just a 3v3, and they do have the respawner now. This is looking okay for Witness Gaming. They might be able to launch a few players over towards that choke. They find one onto Chris. It's not going to be as bad as it could have been for like a G6. That could have been very, very awful, but seems like with all this chaos, they already have Ixie in behind. He's trying to go for the wraparound over. He wants the med, but bot mode with the body shot. Able to defend him. He got another body shot onto Hugo, and that is going to be the call now definitively for Leica G6 to take control of second. Witness Gaming are going to have to back up. Very interestingly, if even throughout all of that chaos, no medic died, it's still going to be even Ubers, which is all right if you are Witness Gaming EU, but still, being on your last 3-2 on your map pick, not a great way to be.
Yeah, it's definitely not a great place to be on their own map pick. They've gone down these rounds. They need to take them back, but it's going to be G6 on the aggressive side. Having this even Uber situation, G6 with Bomo on Sniper is going to try to crack this hold with some sort of headshot as Bomo goes through main, slowly trying to peek his way over, trying to see the demo, or hopefully the medic is probably on his mind, although that is unlikely to happen. We do see G6 pressuring the point as they have two players in water. They have not touched the point yet. They're probably just preparing some sort of play, talking amongst themselves, getting the timing down, and here it is. I don't think Witness Gaming knows. Do they have anyone to block the point?
They just cap it
right under their nose. G6, they got away with that one. Witness Gaming, that is not what they wanted.
That is absolute insanity. I mean, they should have known that there were two people under the point because I think Krissy made his presence known, and then the soldier as well also made his presence known. So they knew there was that potential, but still, like a G6, getting the sneakiest cap. I mean, it was a back cap, and I mean, they were still on last, so I don't even know. But Witness Gaming, they got to get that out of their heads. That might have been a little bit tilting, but they're still in this game. They're sending both their soldiers in immediately onto the demo. They're chasing him so hard, but he's just not dying. He's staying alive, and everyone else on Witness Gaming is falling. They expended so many to try and get onto Logan there. I don't know if the cam caught it, but they double bombed Logan over towards Big Door. Logan surfed up onto high ground, then they re-bombed him. Logan surfed again back over towards Big Door, and they didn't even kill him. And that is just a really, really bad mid for Witness Gaming.
Yeah, Witness Gaming did not get what they wanted. They actually spawned on the Crits Creek here for one last hurrah, maybe hoping that this ends up with them winning the round. G6, though, just going to take in an Uber through River. They're going to be shooting down the gun, but the Pyro is in their way. The Pyro is causing a bit of chaos here and has managed to stay alive this whole time. Chris trying to chase down the frags, hits a lot of shots, but so far nothing has been collected. Lucas Tank takes down Bomo, and now we have two players on point. Will they cap it? The Heavy is on the point. Kobe is down. It's only Chris and Lawguy alive, and Lawguy is leaving, so Witness Gaming, they are alive to continue fighting. But actually, Lawguy takes down Poppy in the doorway, finally now getting cleaned up. But now, it's Crits Creek. I don't know if this beam was noticed, but Otto is stuck on Crits, and they're on Gully Watch second, going into mid.
I'm going to be honest, I thought that was lights out. I thought Witness Gaming had that. Tomas just rushing through the choke. No fear whatsoever on that man, even when their backs are up against the wall. They do have crits. I don't know if they know bot mode is up on Spy, however. He's going to be lurking around, might have the opportunity for a cheeky little backstab. If people aren't paying attention, I don't think he's been spotted yet, but the crits does come out. They find one onto Logan, so immediately making it work. Logan is going to go down as well. Everyone is just being wiped out, but actually bot mode gets the stab on the Poppy. That is absolute insanity. No, my God. That was so close. He almost got the other one onto Hugo. It is just going to be the last one. Soapy Meister trying to get any picks he possibly can. He's not going to get any. It's going to be faster respawners for Witness Gaming because they have control of mid, but that was a lot scrappier than it really needed to be, Delta.
Yeah, that was very scrappy. Witness Gaming pulling that one out is going to end up with the midpoint control. And guess what? Maybe a bit of a saving grace there because now Otto is not stuck on the Crits Krieg. They are back on regular Uber charge, back to regular order here. Gonna be Witness Gaming in a familiar situation, even Ubers on mid. I feel like we've been here several times and it actually has not gone well for the Witness Gaming boys. They've struggled a bit on this stalemate location. This is kind of the last chance they have to prove that they know how to break this hold, and if they can, it will put them in a position to tie back up the game, but if they can't, it could cost them everything here.
Yeah, it really could cost them everything. We're very, very close to continuous overtime, which doesn't mean too much because like a G6 already have 4, as it's only going to go to 5, but now we come to the Uber. It's going to be Kobe going in, Poppy going in really deep behind, Logan getting disconnected, getting chased so deep, and Tomas finally gets the kill, but that just draws everyone away from the choke, allowing like a G6 to just walk in for free. Tomas doing a lot of damage, but a lot of damage doesn't necessarily mean a kill, and he is going to go down like a G6, playing that beautifully. Now they're going to have control of mid. They're going to have Uber advantage, and they are looking so good right now to try and close out the series.
Yeah, they are looking like they can close out this series. Full ad, full players alive. Second point capped is going to be pushing into lobby as we see Soapy Meister already take control of River, clear out some stickies, look for a sniper. That's all been known. So at this point, G6 just talking amongst themselves. They probably know the drill, probably just going to do their standard Uber push. We've seen the heavy, we've seen the pyro for Witness Gaming, but none of it stopped G6 in the past, as now G6 going in. But this time the pyro seems to be a lot more effective, managing to block G6 from getting anything. Pyro still alive, WM1ing at Chris, but guess what? Logan and Kobe come in, find 2. Hugo doing so much damage on point, trying to clean these players up. Hugo doing such a good job there, might have saved that hold for the team.
Yeah, Might of Logan is still here, is going to be able to get a pickup onto Hugo, just playing over beneath the point, over in water, but is finally eventually going to be taken down. Logai so far out of it with Chris to keep him company and keep him safe, as it is going to be 100% Uber. It is going to be advantage, but Logai already at 70% bot mode, still up on the Spy, is making his way over. I think they know because there's a few scattergun shots headed his way, and I think maybe with that uncertainty, I don't know if they're going to fight this. They do have control of second, but there's 2 more coming back. There's 3 players in behind, all trying to make a breakaway for the point. If they're able to win this DM fight, they just might be able to do it. They get it! They get it like a G6. Secure their spot in the grand finals with a 3-man back-capped attempt against Witness Gaming Europe. Excellent stuff from them, showing that, they are the ones to beat. Honestly, they were undefeated in group stages. They have not been a map taken off of them so far in playoffs, and that performance against a Witness Gaming EU, which is kind of the only other team that has been on that level to beat them so dominantly in these 2 maps, shows that they are really in a very good position heading into grand finals, which they have secured a spot in.
Yeah, G6 has not dropped a single game this whole time. They played about 6 or 7 games at this point. They look really dominant. I'm not sure anything can stop them at this point. Witness Gaming, they had their map pick. They picked Gully Wash, and it did not deter G6 from doing whatever they wanted there.
No, it didn't. I mean, they just played their game. They had a little bit of success, obviously. You know, it was a 5-2, wasn't a straight roll, but they just looked so confident every single time. The mids looked so good, and Witness Gaming just weren't really allowed to play the game that we've seen them play with every single other team. But G6 aggression was just absolutely on point, and I think at least at this stage in the tournament, G6, they're the team to beat. If you want to win this, you got to beat G6.
Yeah, that is exactly the point, and it's kind of confirmed by the fact that now they're in Grands, so it is kind of a literal statement. Just looking at the logs, the first thing that stands out to me is somebody dropped 370 DPM on Gully Wash, and it was not a demo man. It was Kobe 1920, Pocket Soldier on G6, going 24 and 16, 370. That is a fiendish land stat line right there. That is one for the books.
Yeah, that is one for the books. Absolute insanity from Kobe 1920. You know, one of these days, that 1920 is going to be the amount of damage he does, DPM that he does. You know, he's on that trend because the man is absolutely insane. I mean, we saw he whipped out the shotgun as well. And they just looked so good, not just Kobe, but really everyone. But it's not like Witness Gaming couldn't have won that. You know, they had, you know, some moments where they were able to get in, and, you know, those couple of rounds where they kind of got some momentum and they were finally able to start playing their game. We could see why they picked this map. But like a G6, it was just too much for them to handle, too overwhelming, and is sent now Witness Gaming EU into the lower bracket final.
Yeah, that is the lower bracket final. And it's just, I'm still in shock at how this has gone. We still have games going, of course, but the standings, I don't know if anyone could have predicted this. As for us, we will be going to the desk right now.
All right. Thank you to Tcmano and DeltaMarket yet again. And I do think that Tcmano put it best there. G6 is the team to beat. They looked very confident there on Gully Wash. What are your two thoughts on this?
Yeah, it was basically, I think you predicted it pretty well, right? You were saying beforehand, the soldiers, particularly Kobe, like it's one of these maps where pocket soldiers, they can go big. And particularly, like you were saying, his playstyle suits it well. And as we said before, they pulled at the logs. He had a field day. But on the most part, like, I don't know, it didn't feel like Witness really got to play their game at all.
Yeah, I think some of these teams get too in their head, especially against G6, because G6 is frustrating to play. If they are rolling, it feels kind of hopeless because they are just letting you make a mistake, going after it, and you're just going to overthink it. At the end of the day, they're probably going to look at these demos over the next couple hours and see all these little things we could have done. But G6 overall, they are a team that adapts, they react, and they're kind of hard to counter because they're not necessarily doing anything super aggressive. It's not like, they just double bomb every time. But that is a exclamation point right there. They're literally the team to beat. They are in grand finals.
Yes.
They have a best of 5. Good thing for whoever's going to meet them there. There is no winner's bracket advantage. Whoever wins has to win 3 of the 5 maps, no matter what.
Okay.
There's some advantage, I'd say. Not in terms of obviously rounds and stuff, but like they're not playing for almost 24 hours at this point. They can chill, they can rest, they can maybe do some demo reviews, maybe just, you know, take it easy for a bit, maybe go out for a wander out around the beautiful sites around Lakewood. But like for Witness, having lost that game, they're going to have a long day ahead of them tomorrow. They've got to demo review this, and then they're on first up tomorrow against, well, could be one of about 4 teams at this point in that lower bracket final. But yeah, it is sort of a reward in itself, I'd say.
Yeah, and I think on a good example of that adaptability that you were talking about is that last round we saw get scored with Bomo on last on Spy. It seemed like there was a lot of on-the-fly adjustment being made there of, okay, I can't get the back cap. I am... there's a guy back for me. If you can get through, we can like win this 2v1 and like win the round right there. And suddenly like River's open for a moment because the push out is going slow. And moments like that where I don't think that without that kind of vision and knowledge that those plays are going to be made in the same way.
Yeah, overall, I'm excited to see. Like we said, there's 4 teams that could be making this. We're going to see one more series today, and that is who's going to play Witness Gaming EU. And right now, it's looking like it's going to, Ball's LAN team is in the next round. It's between Froyo and the Australians, who the Australians won the first map. So we're still seeing that. But the next series we will see is Balls LAN team versus whoever wins that Froyo Australia series.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I will say, despite being on the desk for this one, we all admitted to it before. Right? I've had one eye over on that Froyo Australia
it's hard
game.
not to.
It's so hard, especially because with it being on LAN, there's people watching over the shoulder. It's the atmosphere, even though it's not on the main stage, the atmosphere whenever a round comes through, we're on the desk, we can hear behind like two walls that direction, like it's rumbling, it's rocking. It's rocking when whenever there's a round going through, there's people.
Right now,
like it literally happened
right
on
now.
cue. I don't think that got picked up by audio, but right now, I bet a round has just gone down in that game because
From the volume, Australia probably won one
probably
round.
yeah,
Probably won a round.
they're the crowd favorites here.
Yeah, I was watching the Aussies play and had to get brought over here before it ended, and I heard from the cheers. I knew, okay, yeah, it's over now.